Shop on eBay this holiday season to get more for your dough on stand mixers, or get more for your buck on this season's hottest tech and gaming gear. And on eBay, you can even get more
Ooh.
bling for less cha-ching on jewelry. You can get more because you save more on premium brands with eBay's exclusive deals. Get more when you get it on eBay.
Annie had an earache on a Saturday of all days. So her mom brought her to Minute Clinic at CVS, where you can see a provider, fill a prescription, and grab essentials like pain relief products, all in one visit. Even on evenings and weekends. You can even see us online with telehealth options. For quality, affordable care on your schedule, visit Minute Clinic at CVS. That's healthier made easier. Services vary by location. See MinuteClinic.com for details.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 238, and this week I am very pleased to be joined by a returning guest. Hello, Chris.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on again. How you doing?
Good. Good enough. You know, there's a lot of pro wrestling. There's a lot of things happening in the world, so we're doing all right.
Things happen in the world. I don't even know what's going on in the world. I have no idea, honestly.
Listen, you're better off for not knowing. You know, it is. We're rapidly approaching the holiday season. Thanksgiving is coming. You know, all the stuff that stresses me out because I have to see people I see once a year, and you know, things of the sort.
Yeah. I feel like I have not talked to the people in a long time now. This was the first episode, you know, with like a 2 weeks. Since it's the first time we've done 2 weeks without an episode. It's the easiest way to say it, probably. Since, you know, we discontinued the Patreon a couple weeks ago, or, you know, temporarily discontinued it, or whatever. I said, put it on pause. I don't know. I mean, we'll probably go back to it eventually. I shouldn't get into all that again. The point is, though, I got used to speaking to at least the patrons, like, I don't know, like 3 fucking times a week or something. And, you know, most people, like, at least once a week. You know, when we were doing the Patreon full episode, and then the, you know, the free episode on and off. And now I just stuck to a every 2 weeks, you know, free episode. And I feel like, wow, so much has happened since the last time I spoke to anybody. I got my COVID booster shot. It fucked me up really bad, honestly. Not that I'm trying to tell anybody not to get yours. You should. It's worth it. But man, that shot was so much worse for me than either of the first two. I was like, I felt like I had COVID on that fucking Wednesday after I got it on Tuesday. I mean, I had the fever. I just felt like absolute shit. And then it didn't get that much better Thursday. It finally got better last Friday. But yeah, I mean, it's worth it. I mean, it seems like it, you know, really gets your immune system revved up and ready to fight this stupid virus if you come in contact with it. But man, it sucked for 2 days there at least. So that wasn't a great deal of fun. But yeah, other than that, I guess I've been watching a lot of hockey, you know, a bit of wrestling. I did watch, you know, besides the 2 shows we're talking about today, I watched the first night of the Best of Super Juniors today, which was, we're not going to do a full review or anything. It was fine. It wasn't like anything super special.
I thought there were a lot of surprises on that show, weren't there?
Like what? Like the winners?
Yeah.
I feel like they always do that. I don't know.
I mean,
the first night.
They do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I felt surprised by a couple of the results, but that's kind of how they book out the tournaments, and you've only got one block to work with. So
yeah.
But
yeah, the show was fine. It really wasn't anything I would tell anyone they have to rush out and see, but it was easy 2 hours. But yeah, I'm already 2 days behind because I have to watch World Tag League Day 1 and Best of Super Juniors Day 2. So I don't know. I'm probably just gonna do. I think it was impossible to find time to do it this past weekend between Full Gear, which I think was 17 hours long. I'm pretty sure
it was. It was long.
That's at least how long it felt. But yeah, which obviously we'll get into that. And Full Gear and Battle in the Valley, and then just I have hockey games to watch. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of hockey lately.
Did you watch Battle in the Valley right after Full Gear, or did you watch next day?
I watched it next day.
Yeah,
because it was like by the time Full Gear was over, I think Battle in the Valley was already like 45 minutes in or something.
I think it was probably about an hour actually. Yeah. So I think they were three or four matches in. I had to dual screen it there for a little bit.
I mean, like Battle in the Valley, originally was supposed to be the week after Full Gear, which probably would have worked out better for both shows. I'm sure you would have had like crossover and stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely the New Japan show.
Yeah. I mean, Full Gear, I think would have had like a New Japan guy on it probably.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, it didn't work out because the Full Gear they had to move it back a week because they didn't want to go head to head with that UFC pay-per-view or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess it was a really big one last week. I have no idea. So.
Yeah, it was a pretty big show. They did UFC was doing Madison Square Garden, so they they had a hell of a card. So and then there was a boxing fight too. So it was a lot. I mean, it made all the sense in the world for them to move, but
just fucked over New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good. That wasn't a good trade-off for New Japan, especially since like
they already had their date booked. They couldn't move theirs, I don't think.
Yeah, well, and New Japan's not gonna. That doesn't seem to be like what they would do. Yeah. Like they stay the course. Yeah. So, which is good, sometimes for the best. But it kind of worked out. Whereas one big night of pro wrestling.
I mean, we're gonna get into a full review of Full Gear. I mean, by the end of that show, I don't know if I ever wanted to watch pro wrestling again. So it was like I was not gonna be able to sit there and watch Battle in the Valley back to back. I mean, like that show did not help my burnout. I will say that. But But yeah, we'll get into the full review. I guess some housekeeping notes. So with the every other week format right now, because we're doing every other week. Only on the free feed, no Patreon for the foreseeable future. So we basically have 3 episodes left for the rest of the year. I'm making the executive decision not to do the year in review series that we've done a bunch of previous years. It's sort of just with the schedule being condensed and just having less episodes to do it, and also I just really don't. Like I was sitting down thinking of like what promotions did I want to do a year in review episode on, and the answer was really none. Like there really wasn't anything in 2021 that I really want to relive. Like, oh, I'm excited. Like usually New Japan's a big one to sit down and do, but like they had such a like blah year that I don't really want to go to sit down and do it all. And like, I mean, other Puro was just like, okay, they had a whatever year. I mean, DT had a pretty decent year, I guess, but I didn't watch any Joshi really, so I can't even talk about that. And I don't want to do the AEW or WWE episodes. I mean, I just don't really care. So it just didn't seem like a great year to do year in review. So if you like that series in the past, if you're a longtime listener, I apologize. We'll get back to it probably in 2022 when things are a little more normal, maybe. Already Signs of Japan opening up now, right? I think the wrestlers have been talking about this.
the wrestlers are starting to hint, like the U.S. wrestlers are starting to hint that there's balls in motion for sure.
Yeah. I mean, technically, basically, so it sounds like to me, like if you're a big corporation, which Bushiroad obviously is, you can get foreigners in again, basically, like especially new foreigners. It sounds like they're taking visa applications again. And more importantly, maybe as far as getting some people back over, they reduced the quarantine period from 14 days to 3 days. Now, the 3 days comes with a lot of caveats. My friend was just bitching about this because he's been hoping to get back into the country on some kind of business visa, but not with a giant Japanese corporation backing him. And the rules they set up are very onerous. So they basically set it up in a way where, like, it's really hard to take advantage of it unless you do have that giant company backing you, because, you know, basically the company needs to have a specific compliance officer who the Japanese government can ask questions to, and they need to submit an entire, what's the word? They need to submit a fucking itinerary. There you go. And I could not think of that word for some reason. An itinerary of like what that employee will be doing the entire time. And, you know, basically you just need to have like a big company behind you to take any advantage of the, you know, of this reduced quarantine. But obviously, you know, asking like a foreign wrestler, you know, to spend 3 days in the dojo or in a hotel compared to 10 or 14 is a pretty big fucking difference.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, sit here for a weekend is a long weekend maybe, but a weekend is a little different than sit here for a week and a half or 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's going to help the international travel. And then they're already talking about the return of tourism, maybe to target, like by the end of the year, they're talking about tourism with like these groups, right? These group tours that are like set up by groups, and then maybe general tourism by like this is more of a rumor, just what I've heard from talking to people, is they really want general tourism reopened by cherry blossom season, since that's a huge season for Japanese tourism with people coming in to see the cherry blossoms. So that would be like the end of March. So I would expect, you know, unless Japan has another big resurgence in the virus, which the virus is way down in Japan right now, I would expect like March 2022 maybe to be when you're talking about like no quarantine at all for international travel if you're vaccinated, because that is the key for all this stuff, by the way.
Right.
If you will not be seeing any unvaccinated wrestlers in Japan for a very long time, because as far as I know, it's still the full 14-day quarantine for them. If they'll even let you in the country. I don't even know if they will. I think for like a visa, I think you probably have to be vaccinated. But if you're vaccinated, I think maybe like March 2022. So, you know, that even if they don't get any wrestlers in the country before March, which I think they probably will, that's not that far away. So I guess to the point, you know, earlier, I think, you know, there's American wrestlers. You will be seeing new foreign wrestlers in New Japan, and I assume new other Japanese companies too. Probably, I would think like first quarter 2022, maybe second quarter at the latest. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Stoke the flame on the. We can get some Wrestle Kingdom rumors going then, if you think after the first of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, that January 8th show is the one that's in question of like, could they get somebody over for it? But I think that's still a pretty hefty task just for a visitor, not someone who's going to actually work for the company.
Yeah, but the big thing is like they have this huge roster now of American wrestlers, right? That they on the American brand, that they could bring over. So, you know, I do think we'll see some of that in 2022, and we'll see more, you know, intermingling of the two sides. So that'll be interesting. As we'll talk about, I think it'll probably help some of those strong people actually get over, because they were not that over in San Jose, which is just something. I feel like that you could definitely tell a difference between people who have appeared in Japan and people who haven't, as far as even the Western fan base. So, I mean, that's something where I think that'll help a lot. Like that'll help, you know, because obviously they're going to continue strong. I mean, they announced tapings for January, February, and March, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was January, Seattle, February, LA, March, Tampa, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So obviously that's going to continue well into 2022. But, being able to send people back and forth is only going to help that show a lot because, you'll get more Japanese talent on Strong, which will, increase the interest in Strong. And then you'll also get more Strong talent in Japan, which will increase the interest in them when they come back to work Strong. So, I assume that is like the general plan. And if it is, I think, it's probably a pretty good one. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
Well, they've made all these relationships.
That too. They have,
like
Impact and
right.
AEW and GCW.
And just and then the existence of Strong and all the, basically, I mean, those guys are their roster. I mean, you probably saw Chris Dickinson's tweet about his injury with his, his kind of notes app tweet. But Dickinson he's very apologetic to the New Japan fans more than anything, not even necessarily like all the indies or GCW or anything. He's just talking about how great New Japan is and how he can't wait to get over to Japan for New Japan. Like I was surprised to see him connect himself so closely to one company because he's such a freelancer. But
yeah, and he I think he kind of said he had plans to come to Japan. That's basically what he insinuated. So
he definitely insinuated that. Yeah. And that it sounded like he was hopeful that was happening soon.
Yeah. So I assume that's what they're telling these guys is like start of the new year, we'll be able to start bringing you guys in. But, I mean, it does look, the situation in Japan has changed. I mean, to the point where, there is talk about even like cheering crowds, in 2022. They have to get, what I read is they have to get permission from the prefecture to do it. So presumably, to have what I read basically was like you can have a 50% capacity crowd that I think requires either vaccination or negative test, and then they'll be allowed to cheer. But you have to get permission from the prefecture as well. So presumably that means Tokyo will have to clear it. I worry a little bit about Wrestle Kingdom. I kind of think, I don't know if they might say that's too soon to do, a 20,000 person cheering crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one thing of note there. Basara just fucking, I don't know if they got permission or just they figure they're so low level that nobody will care. But Basara, as of this past weekend, I saw the tweet where they said, you have to be vaccinated to come or have a negative test. But once you're inside, you have to wear the mask still. You can cheer. Like they specifically said that in the tweet. Like you can cheer at our show this past, and that was for this past weekend. So Basara, for people don't know, is a pretty low level indie. They used to, that's Isami Kodaka's promotion. And that's it used to be a DET sub brand, but now it's just, went fully independent. And I believe that is the first Japanese company I've seen, just tell people they have permission to cheer again. I could be wrong on that, but at least it's the first one I've seen. So that is interesting to me. I think, you saw a company do it, even at that low level, they did decide to do it. So, I think it's turning on this. Like anyone, unless things go really badly with COVID over the next, whatever amount of months, I don't think we're like a year away from cheering crowds again in Japan. I think we're like, somewhere between, I don't know, 3 to 6 months or something, depending on, who decides to do it and, if the prefectural governments have a problem or whatever. But I do think it's on the horizon. How about that? So,
hey, after what? How long has it been? I mean, a year and a half now.
Yeah.
A couple more months of waiting. Hopefully, the thing that I have seen in some of these shows from Japan is that the crowds they seem to be a little bit bigger than they had been during this last wave here. So I think maybe the confidence to get out to shows is growing again, and hopefully that will continue to the point where we can have big cheering, totally full cork and halls for every company, right? Like not just New Japan, but any company is going to benefit from that. So, I think it's closer, but I mean, we've been doing this for so long that it's going to be, I I do think the people who are going to the shows, they're going to be ready to cheer, right? But like, even for me watching, I've watched so much of this stuff that it might be a little weird to kind of gauge a cheering crowd again.
Yeah, it's going to be something.
Yeah.
I just want to give people just how low COVID is in Japan right now. It had Tokyo for Monday, the entire city of Tokyo, which is gigantic, reported 7 cases. So
still in the single digits. They've been in single digits for a little while.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think it's time to do some stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think it's, and the other thing, the reason why I do think you'll see international travel and tourism opening up is another headline from the Japan Times: Japan's economy contracts for first time in 2 quarters. 0.8% down in the quarter, which was worse than economists' median estimates. So they are going to need some money, basically, which is why I honestly do buy into the idea that the cherry blossom season 2022 is like when they really want it to be open by. So I do think you'll see it by then.
Yeah, that's the next big thing on the tourism calendar. So
it's Japan's biggest thing of the year for, I think, foreign travelers. I think I don't see what will be comparable. I mean, because like there's domestic travel season, like Oban among the domestic population would be bigger, I think, but I don't know. I think it would be, because the only other like major, as far as like sightseeing thing that is like fall foliage season in Japan draws a lot of people too. But I know the cherry blossom season now draws it. So but I guess we'll have to wait, and I think it'll be open. It's so
you got to figure they would shoot for a little before that, so
I would think so
too. Just so people aren't. It's not just like the first thing, So,
but there you go. Okay, so let's switch gears here. I didn't even do that on purpose. I just, as soon as it was out of my mouth, I was like, wait. Switch gears to Full Gear, which was All Elite Wrestling's pay-per-view extravaganza from Minneapolis, November 13th, 2021, the Target Center. So originally I was going to go to this show when it was November 6th in St. Louis. The week first, or the week after, it really just kind of, I don't know, like moving it back a week, moved it closer, another trip I'm taking. And it also moved it to a city I really, no offense to Minneapolis. I just, St. Louis, I was like, oh, I've never been there. I want to see the Arc and stuff. Minneapolis, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's in Minneapolis. I really don't have
Skyway?
I don't
that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, St. Louis felt like a place where, I really probably would never go anyway, but like, like get a hotel right by the Arc. Apparently the Arc was close to the arena. Look at the big Arc and be like, look, I was at St. Louis at the Arc. Yippee. I don't fucking know what's in Minneapolis. So it just really, the change of venue didn't do anything for me. So I almost went to the show. I did not end up going to the show, which is funny because you almost went to Battle in the Valley.
Yeah, well, I had every intention and plan to go to Battle in the Valley, but it didn't happen. Didn't go for it.
Yeah. So we both almost went to a show on this episode, but both did not end up going. The other thing too with Full Gear is I kind of figured, being a week before the New Japan show, I figured, oh, maybe like Okada will be on the show or something. And, obviously once it moved the same day as San Jose, it's like, well, that's not happening. So, that also kind of took it down for me. As far as my thoughts on the show, okay. This was a show that I can already tell a lot of the internet liked a lot more than I did. Just looking at the cage match rating and some of the grapple match ratings and all sorts of stuff. I've seen people say again that this is like one of the best pay-per-views ever and blah, 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 blah. I just really like my biggest problem with the show, I guess. And again, this show did have 3 matches that I thought were awesome. This might be, this is a term that might make very little sense, but this might be my least favorite show with 3 matches that I had at over 4 stars and thought were awesome that I've ever had. Because the show was paced so weirdly. It had such a couple matches that I absolutely fucking hated including possibly my least favorite match of the entire year. In another match I really disliked that, other people are higher on that one, and I get it. And then a bunch of middling stuff. Everything felt so long. Like, I watch New Japan, so I really probably shouldn't be complaining about match length. But like, where AEW gets me is like every match, it feels like, has to go 20 minutes or 17 minutes, even like, undercard stuff that probably will be much better off going like, 10 to 15. And, it just really, really starts to add up after a while. And the way AEW shows, AEW matches, obviously, the match style is often, let's do every move in the book and every kick out ever. And every match is like, the 10 WrestleMania kickouts. And that really does get old after a while. I'm not trying to sound like Jim Cornette, but like when you've seen people kick out of every move that's ever happened on, 3 of the last 4 matches before you get to this match, it's like, yeah, at a certain point, it starts to lose its impact. And, it starts to feel like it's just really dragging. The show, AEW pay-per-views in general, all of them except for All Out, which was their best pay-per-view ever and really never felt like it dragged. AEW pay-per-views really fucking drag for me. They almost always have a couple matches that I just feel like are never going to end, even when they don't turn out to be that long, because they just feel like they cram so much stuff in there, like way too much stuff. And, it ends up being just by the end of it, I'm like, I never want to watch this company again. I never want to watch American wrestling again. Like, that's always how I feel at the end of an AEW show, or even I guess maybe more specifically the middle of an AEW show. And, any like a pay-per-view should make you excited to watch what comes next in the company. It should not make you go like, I don't ever want to watch this company again. But that's how I feel coming out of many of their pay-per-views. So that's my big picture thoughts on Full Gear, I think, before we get into these individual matches.
Yeah, you had a lot of thoughts. I agree. I do agree mostly, though, with everything you're feeling, I guess. The overall length doesn't get to me as much as like the sameness of like the length of the matches, right? And like, I don't even know if it's the kick out thing or whatever, but like when every match is within like 3 minutes of itself, especially the first half of this pay-per-view, like everything was hitting it. It's like they told him like, you got 20, right?
Yeah, let me read these match times to give you a point. 21:56, 18:37, 19:59, 22:20, 16:52, 15:16. Everything went over 15 minutes. 4 of the first 4 especially went like 22, 18.5, 20, 22. And that really does start to grate on you. Finally, Punk and Kingston, which is one of the best matches of the show, went 11:07. It was like, thank God. It was like finally something went 11 minutes. And then the last 2 matches, 19:37, maybe the most egregious of them all. And then 25:11, that's totally fine for a main event. 25. The main event was the longest match in the show, but because Kenny Omega and Adam Page know how to structure a 25-minute match, first of all, and they basically work this like a big New Japan main event, which is how Kenny works all of his big matches, honestly. That 25 minutes fucking flew by compared to some of these other times where I have to sit through, weapon bonanza bullshit twice for 20 minutes or more, which is that was one of the most egregious parts of the show. Anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. But... No,
you're fine. I was, just saying that the literal sameness of all those times is like, so that's what was draining for me, is that there was no like up and down pacing until you got to really the Kingston match, Kingston Punk. Yeah. And then I was like back into it. Right. And I don't know if that may be by design. They ruined it with the plunder with the Minneapolis street fight situation.
I can't talk about that one.
And then, yeah, I mean, you're right. The main event was paced like a G1 main event, or, maybe a little more drawn out, maybe even more in the G1 final kind of, but it still landed in 25 minutes. So, I mean, yeah, I don't want to say it was a drag because I thought it was a good show, but like, and overall, like all things considered, on balance, like this was a good pay-per-view, I thought. But I would like to see some varied segment lengths, I guess, if because everyone talks in TV terms these days. Like, it felt like you had like all the puzzle pieces were the same size, and I don't think that should be the case.
Yeah, these shows need like snappy 10-minute sprints or something.
Yeah,
which we finally got like towards the very end of the show.
Right, you needed one or two more of those. Like, did we really need 20 minutes of Lucha Bros versus FTR?
We definitely did not.
No. I don't think we did. Like, and those teams are pretty good, but like 12 maybe,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the pacing of these shows is my biggest problem with them, for sure.
Yeah, and it's tough for me to say how that felt at All Out because I was there and
All Out felt better paced. I don't remember what the match times were. But
yeah, I feel like All Out had big pops, like big surprises.
Well, yeah, and here's the other thing. I'm glad you mentioned pops because I was going to mention the other thing that made this show far inferior to All Out was the crowd. I mean, this was not a good AEW pay-per-view crowd at all. They did pop really big for some stuff, including they were really into the opener. They were really into MJF and Darby because that was a very well-built match. And they were really into the main event, like really, really super into the main event. But, and they were really into Punk Kingston too, which is another really built match, a really well-built match. But like a lot of this show, pretty much everything else I didn't mention, including some good matches like Danielson, Miro, they were very dead for long stretches, especially on the scale of AEW pay-per-view crowds, which, that all-out crowd was hot for the entire thing pretty much. And this crowd just was, I mean, this is still a crowd that like, WWE will kill for this crowd, right? I mean, this is, it's all relative. But on the scale of like AEW pay-per-view crowds, this was not a good crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, but like the Chicago crowd's really good. The Vegas crowds have been really good too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought it was interesting that they went to Minneapolis for the first time with a pay-per-view, just because that seems risky to me. I know you got to go sometime or whatever, but the thing about AEW crowds, and I think I mentioned it in a chat somewhere or in a conversation before already, but like when you show up for the first time, like people are just appreciative that they're there. So everyone's a babyface, unless they're playing along, right, with the act. So I do think that made things even more complicated for some of these matches, is that people were just happy AEW was there, and that kind of ruins the heat or the big time dynamic of babyface and heel, which as much as they don't want it, that it exists and it's helpful at first.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at these matches here. We'll start the main event, work our way down. So the main event was Hangman Adam Page defeating Kenny Omega in 25-11 to finally win the AEW World Title. His intro here with him like riding a horse down the street, and there's like this big screen with a few of his failures, most notably the loss to Chris Jericho to decide the first champion. That was pretty cool. Also pretty cool was Kenny's like all silver outfit, complete with cape. He just looked very badass here. JR had a rare funny line when Callis was like stomping on Hangman Page on the floor, Don Callis, and said, he said, quote, Callis should be fined or suspended for wearing those shoes, because you're wearing these like very ugly pink shoes, let alone the interference. That was actually funny. So JR doesn't get too many zingers. I want to make note of that one. The match, it was paced, like I said, much like a big New Japan main event, a little boring early on, but like in a way where it builds and builds and gets you more and more into it. And, Page really got some excitement flowing with some nice high-flying moves, all in a row. Ended with a big moonsault off the top rope to a standing Kenny on the outside. Kenny, though, nearly killed Page with this huge springboard powerbomb. So basically, Page was on the top rope, and Kenny, like, springboarded up and sort of did, like, a little sunset into the powerbomb. That was awesome.
That was awesome, but also terrifying.
Yeah, because Page landed directly on his head and neck. And then Kenny followed it up with 3 straight dragon suplexes, last one on the apron. That looked quite brutal as well. But what I didn't like, and this is one of my big flaws of the match, is he throws Paige right back in the ring after the power bomb, the 3 straight dragon suplexes. All this looked like it killed him. He hits the V trigger on top of all that, goes for the one-winged angel, but Paige rolls through it into a victory roll for a 2 count, and then hits this big release German suplex on him. And I was like, did I miss something? Like, how was he not selling from taking all that in a row? Like, Kenny just murdered this man, basically. And he wasn't even like, oh, I'm getting my one move and I'm dead again. Like, he was just fine. So it was a little weird. But then Kenny did put him back down after that with the Tiger Driver 98. And he finally did sell that. So that's good. Paige hit a pretty great clothesline to Kenny on the floor through a table. He tried to set up the buckshot back in the ring, but Kenny collapsed in the ropes, so he couldn't get it. Paige ended up smacking Kenny in the face with this big roaring elbow, and then he hit a snap powerbomb. But then when he set the buckshot up again, Kenny pulled the referee in the way. Don brought the belt in the ring. Paige did stop him before he could use it, and then he hit the Deadeye on Kenny. Aubie ran from the back to count the pin, but Kenny kicked out at 2. I like that they kept the interference to a minimum here. It was just Don Callis trying one little thing and, then right back to wrestling, basically. So I was all ready to hate the interference, but they really didn't, there really wasn't that much. Paige picked the belt up, but then dropped it instead of using it. The two of them then exchanged elbows, which this is like, when I think we might have even talked about this in the last episode you were on for, but like when I see people praise like Kenny's big matches in AEW, who also like shit on New Japan on the regular, that is one of the funniest fucking things to me because he still wrestles exactly like a big New Japan match. And here where they did an elbow exchange, it was in the exact same spot in a big New Japan main event where they exchange elbows. You just had the big giant near fall, and then both guys are like slowly climb back to their feet, and they do the elbow exchange. I was like, okay, if you are telling me this is different than a big New Japan main event, like if you like this and you like a big New Japan main event, that's fine. But if you're telling me you like this and don't like big New Japan main events, you're like lying to yourself or something. I don't know what else to tell you because it's the same fucking thing. Kenny comes back with punches. He gets repeated knees to the face. Paige catches his knee on the running one and then hits his own punches. Kenny, though, catches him with the running knee in the corner, but then he runs right into another roaring elbow from Paige. Kenny, though, stops him with another knee. Then he hits some Kawada-style step-up kicks, but Paige instead just catches him with this huge standing lariat. That was awesome. The Young Bucks come out at this point, and Tony Schiavone gets his great line here where he's like, dipshit alert. I was like, okay. The Bucks just kind of distract Paige. Kenny hits a big V trigger, tries to set Paige up for the one-winged angel, but Paige counters into his own one-winged angel. Kenny, of course, did kick out of his own move. And then Paige hits the buckshot to the back of Kenny's head. He keeps getting distracted by the Bucks, but then Matt Jackson just nods at him. I guess the idea was he gave him a pass, which, by the way, Matt Jackson making faces, never that fun of a time. He's not the best actor I've ever seen. Paige then hits a second buckshot, and that is the pin. I don't know, like with the Bucks walking out, I mean, I was worried again that it was going to be interference, but maybe if anything, the finish almost felt a little anticlimactic after all that. Like it just kind of felt like, all right, well, he hit his move and won. But I mean, I don't know, but no bullshit besides the ref bump. It really did help this one a lot. I went 4.25 on it. Pretty damn awesome. A lot better than I was expecting, really. And, this, having a main event that was this awesome, helped to, quote, save a very up and down show, to me. Because, like, if the main event after all the stuff we're going to talk about, some awesome, some not awesome at all. If the main event here had not also been awesome, I think I would have been just like much more down the show than I was. As it is, it was like a really good ending, and I really, it made the show at least leave you on a high note. So that's good. But yeah, they put on an awesome performance here, and I'm not surprised some people are even higher than this on this match than me. But 4.25 is where I went here.
Yeah, I think people who are going higher than that would be people who were really, really invested in the Hangman story, like from day one.
Yeah.
And I think,
or Kenny superfans,
Yeah, right.
Which
because
describes like every English language journalist on the internet, apparently.
This was very Kenny match, right? So, but Paige looked great. Curious to see what a homegrown champion looks like for AEW for sure, right? Because I think even Kenny obviously built his career somewhere else, and Jericho, Moxley, right? So this is the first try at having someone like Adam Page carry the company. So obviously this was the end of their kind of first 2-year arc, give or take, and they delivered in the ring for sure. This match was really engaging. It was just the right length where it felt like hard fought. And I think, but the Buck stuff annoyed me, to be honest. Like, maybe annoyed's even a strong word, but it was kind of like a eye roll.
Stupid. Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, it didn't need to happen here. It could have happened at Dynamite or anywhere else. Like, I don't know that was necessary, and they didn't use that in the build-up.
Now, there are people who are going to scream at you that I just want to say for the devil's advocate position, people are like, the Bucks were a big part of the story. Or I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they were, but they didn't use that in the recent build-up to get to the point where we're having a match. So it just felt a little out of place. Curious where that goes. I think this is all a slow burn still. Now, we'll see what Paige does going forward here. But I think when it comes down to it, the match delivered.
Speaking of things that delivered, this sure didn't. The semi-main event, the 10-man tag team Minneapolis street fight, the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Ortiz, Santana, Sammy Guevara defeat the American Top Team, Andre Arlovsky, Dan Lambert, and Junior Dos Santos, and the Men of the Year, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, in 1937. Yes, while everyone's waiting for the main event, they gave this piece of shit almost 20 minutes. And this is where, like, I was ready to kill somebody watching this match. Like, look. Like, big multi-man American weapons garbage brawl is, like, up there with multi-man ladder match, my least favorite style of wrestling. I don't really understand a lot of wrestling fans, but I especially don't understand how anyone who's been watching this stuff for, like, 10 years or more. Like, look, if this was your first night watching wrestling, I'm sure both these big multi-man, hardcore matches were really super neat to you or something. But, like, if you've been watching this shit for years and years and years, the way a lot of people have, and you still care about table spots and garbage cans and all this shit that's exactly the same every single time, I really don't understand you. I really don't understand how people are still that excited. I hate this shit. If I'm going to watch something with weapons, I'd rather watch a death match. At least that can be, at least there's a real sense of danger there, and they can, they can do some interesting stuff sometimes. These matches, these fucking hardcore matches, are so incredibly boring. And the multi-man ones, where, like, it's just a guy taking a move, and then that guy is gone for 20 minutes or, 5 minutes or whatever, and then another guy comes in to hit a move on that guy, and then that guy's gone, and then another guy comes over with another weapon. It's just so, like, it's so brainless, it's so uninteresting, it's just nothing. Now this one in particular, it was billed as a Minneapolis street fight. It started with everybody politely tagging in and out for some reason. That was really funny. One of those things I think everybody makes fun of WWE for, so you should make fun of AEW for it too. I mean, why were they tagging at first? It's like, eventually they did abandon it. But why the fuck were they politely tagging in and out? It's like the referee cannot disqualify you if you all just get in the ring and fight. So eventually they did figure this out. But, like, all those few minutes at the start of politely tagging in and out, I was like, what is going on? Very strange. Junior Dos Santos, okay, one of the two MMA fighters here, he almost kills himself on a standing moonsault. Maybe the worst standing moonsault I've ever seen. Like, he cracked his neck on the chest of the guy who was doing it too. It looked horrible. everyone finally does just decide to get in the ring and fight. Dan Lambert ends up in the ring with the entire inner circle. But then he gets away before they could do anything. Then we get the random weapon brawling on the floor. So boring. Sammy hits somebody with a fucking swanton bomb. And despite this being a 10-man street fight, and we can clearly see Dos Santos and Dan Lambert standing on the outside, no one makes the save for some reason. They just stand there like, I hope he doesn't get pinned. And he does kick out. But I'm like, why did no one make the save there? It was very weird. Baron von Raschke, he was at ringside. Minneapolis wrestling legend. He puts Ethan Page in the Iron Claw. That was easily the highlight of this entire fucking terrible match. And then Dan Lambert gets to the ring with no one to protect him and starts flexing like a complete idiot. It's like, why, sir? You're the manager and you're a cowardly manager. What are you doing? And Jericho, of course, shows up and starts chopping him. Now, he gives him a single elbow, which Dan Lambert takes a horrible bump for. And then Jericho jumps on the middle rope to go for a lion salt. And he stops. And he pauses. Because you see, somebody is supposed to be, breaking this up. But they clearly are not, because they're not ready for the spot. So Jericho has to loudly call Junior Dos Santos. I think he says, "Come on, Junior," over for the spot to stop Jericho. He has to call a wrestler on the other team to come stop him from hitting a lion spot. I did not think we would ever see a "Come on, Jeff, goddammit" again. I don't know if you know what that reference is. But Survivor Series 2001, when Jeff Hardy, it was some multi-man tag with Jeff Hardy on one team and Rico on the other team. And, or Survivor Series 2002, I'm sorry, 2002. I was there, I should know. So Jeff Hardy was supposed to stop Rico on the top rope before he could hit a move. And the camera was right on Rico as he yells out, "Come on, Jeff, goddammit!" Because Jeff Hardy, I guess, was very fucked up or something at the time, was not ready to come over and break up the move. So then Jeff Hardy did indeed "Come on, goddammit," and break up the move. So this was the "Come on, Jeff, goddammit" of 2021. So almost exactly 19 years of the day, because that was, again, Survivor Series 2002. We got something about November pay-per-views, I guess, and guys having to call other people to do their spots. Jericho does a truly terrible frog splash in tribute to Eddie Guerrero, and he pins Dan Lambert to end nearly 20 minutes of absolute goddamn fucking torture. I gave this half a star for a few decent spots. That may be overly generous, and I'm probably going to vote for this for worst match of the year of 2021. Before this, the match I thought was the worst was the Toru Yano versus Evil blindfold match, or whatever the fuck. I absolutely hated, but I think this was worse. So this is going to get my vote, I think, unless something else even more terrible happens between now and the end of the year. So there you go. Any thoughts on the Minneapolis street fight?
Well, it didn't benefit from its placement on the card either. Putting this that late and like having it just be so obviously choreographed to each little spot. I think that was the thing that just bothered me. And, Jericho, I didn't hear Jericho yell when he was waiting for the lion salt to be broken up, but I watched it. I was like, "Oh, you're just gonna stand there for a minute and then and then get knocked out." But yeah, this wasn't for me. I don't like the Dan Lambert gimmick. And I know people love it, and people in the buildings love it.
People love it so much they will fucking fight you to death. If you
I know.
And we both know from the Voice Wrestling Slack. But.
And I can't get into it, and I don't know what that is. He feels scripted to me too, where like everything's a bit, and it's very unnatural. So, but yeah, these big multi-man inner circle brawls don't land for me, and I think that group is good, but them going out on their own more often than not is I think the best thing for my liking.
I just want to see wrestling matches. I don't know. I don't
Right.
really like if there's one of these things on a show, it'd be one thing. But we had two of these fucking things that were 20 minutes or longer on the same pay-per-view, and it's like I don't need to see two of them. Like I barely want to see one of them. I don't really want to even see one of them.
Well, and I think that also devalues both of them.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're so much of the same that happens throughout all of it. So yeah, I'm with you.
Match number 7, back to positive here, was CM Punk defeating Eddie Kingston in 11:07. This just felt like a fight. Kingston hits Punk with the back fist of the future before the bell even rings, while Bryce is like giving instructions to Punk, and Punk like flips him off while he's on the ground, which I thought that was a great touch. Eddie bites him, then goes after him on the floor. The crowd, who had been not that great up to this point, was really loud for this, with a huge dueling chant for both guys right away. And part of the crowd actually starts booing Punk as he's beating on Eddie Kingston on the mat, which I was a little surprised by. I thought Eddie would be the favorite, but I did not know if they'd actually boo Punk, and they did go that far. Some of them did. And Punk seemed to get a kick out of it. It seemed to fire up Punk in a way that very few things have. I mean, Punk is a guy, look, Punk needs to be against something, right? Like he needs something. He needs people to be against him. I mean, I saw it when he was in Ring of Honor back in the day. I mean, he was a guy who really got off on people not liking him. And I don't even just mean that in the sense of a normal heel. Like when people would like really hate his straight edge gimmick, and which is not a gimmick, it's just him in real life as well. But when people like really hate that, he would really get off on it and really like love to go after those people who went after him in the crowd. And when he was a babyface, even, and he had like one or two hecklers, he would love to go at those hecklers really hard, and really like try to shut them down. So he really gets like he really likes having something to go up against. And obviously in WWE it was like the entire company, right? Like he was up against that entire company even while he was there as one of its top stars. AEW so far he hasn't had anything to go up against. He's been Mr. Happy-go-lucky, happy to be here, AEW mascot. And if this is the start of that changing, I think that's a huge fucking success, because he is just such a more interesting guy and such a more engaging guy when he, has something to hate and has something to go up against. So Punk, he gets busted open during a brawl on the outside. Eddie rubs his blood all over himself. Punk then catches Eddie with a blue thunder bomb back in the ring, puts his hand straight up in the air, just like fucking John Cena, while the crowd boos him. That was such an incredible spot. And I was really waiting for him to do You Can't See Me, but he finally just flips Eddie off instead. And Eddie on the back goes, "Fuck you," right back at him, flipping him off. Such a great moment. Both guys, are teasing exhaustion. The crowd really starts booing Punk as he lays into Eddie, and then Punk hits go to sleep, and that gets the pin. Easy 4 1/4 here as well. This fucking ruled. This was finally something on this show that didn't go too long. And, it's just, I love this. This was an awesome, awesome match. And then Punk offers Eddie the handshake after the match. Eddie refuses it and just leaves. And apparently Punk, that was good. I thought there was no way he should, accept the handshake. And apparently Punk did the "I want the belt" gesture afterward, which we cut away, so we didn't see it, but that's interesting. Shout out to Tyler from Voice of Wrestling, who, told us that in the Slack, so I wanted to give him the credit for that. But yeah, apparently, because he was at the show, and he saw Punk do the "I want the belt" motion, so we'll see if that goes anywhere. What do you think of Punk and Eddie Kingston?
Yeah, this was my favorite match on the show. And
second favorite for me.
Yeah. So yeah, this was definitely my favorite match on the show, and probably my favorite thing that Punk has done.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like not even, I don't even think it's close. I mean,
I was going to say not even close.
Yeah, like showing up, I appreciate, so maybe that's my most favorite thing, especially since I was there in Chicago. But yeah, definitely his best match. Punk building up the young guys and asking for their best is not nearly as good as CM Punk giving his best and needing to give his best, because he does need that edge to show up, you know? I mean, he needs that edge to be great, right? So I think that I hope like you, I hope this is the start of that. And I think Kingston was perfect here, right? Like Kingston and Punk ended up here just because like Punk got interrupted, and he's a prideful guy, and Kingston is a prideful guy, and he doesn't care that, and he was pissed, so he interrupted Punk. So, you know, simple story, you know, really built out really well, and then a perfect short climax here, right? 11 minutes, shortest match on the show, but I mean, perfectly laid out. I mean, just a great 11-minute fight, and you know, I think CM Punk, the winner, is probably the right move, right? Unless you really wanted to fire up Eddie Kingston, but clearly not the direction that they're going. But Punk,
because I love the post match where Eddie is like the bitter, like refusing to shake his hand, like that to me is perfect. So that's why it was better for Punk to win.
Right, but I mean, Eddie Kingston can lose. He's like Minoru Suzuki in New Japan. Like he can lose and he's still over, right? Eddie Kingston, I don't know if he's quite that level, but he's AEW's version of that, where like Eddie can lose and lose and lose, and he's still gonna be credible, but also over. So I think
he's he could even be one of the characters where it would actually hurt him to win.
Unless you wanted to fire him towards one of the titles. And that was the next program. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think if he won, what do you do, right? Where do you go from there? So, spectacular match. Perfect for the guys that were involved. And, you know, I wouldn't mind if they ran it back periodically. It doesn't have to be right away, but this could be one of those things where they always look at each other a little, you know, a little cross and eventually build it out again.
So I skipped right over it, so let me go back a little bit here. Between the Minneapolis street fight and the main event, we had two big announcements. First of all, the announcement of Tomohiro Ishii and Orange Cassidy against the Butcher and the Blade for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Not sure if I had Tomohiro Ishii on my show, my first priority would be putting him up against the Butcher and the Blade. But okay, sure thing. I mean, I know it's the storyline, Orange Cassidy's in a feud with the Matt Hardy people, and they join Chaos or whatever, but like, maybe just get a better storyline for Tomohiro Ishii. I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
I don't think they knew they had him until right before they announced they had him.
Yeah, I could still book something better. Come on, guy. Like anything like that. The Butcher and the Blade.
They're pretty good.
Are they?
I
don't know about that.
They would look good in World Tag League.
Yeah. I don't know about that. The other announcement, though, the far more controversial one, Tony Schiavone welcomes Jay Lethal to the show, and Jay Lethal says he's all elite, and he's challenging Sammy Guevara for the TNT title on this coming Dynamite. So there's accusations about Jay Lethal. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail on those accusations right now. Of course, you can always Google Jay Lethal speaking out. If you want more information, you know, the gist of it, I guess, is that he is, at the very least, he seems like kind of a creep with women. And there's a couple different women who accused him in Ring of Honor of like basically using his position to punish women who would not sleep with him. That is, I think, the gist of the accusations, which is, you know, pretty serious stuff. You know, what I want to say about Jay Lethal is like, even if Jay Lethal was not accused of that kind of stuff, which he is, to be clear, those are real accusations. If he was not accused of that stuff, I'm not sure what the fuck the point of bringing Jay Lethal in this company is. He's a pretty boring guy. He's a guy who's been around for a million years. You know, we've seen him wrestle plenty of people on this roster already. You know, pretty much anyone who came from Ring of Honor. You know, he's not a guy that brings anything to the table that I think AEW did not already have. He's definitely not an exciting pickup or anything like that. I didn't see a ton of people who were, you know, super excited by this. And I think this speaks more to the fact that AEW absolutely is a company that loves to hire the friends of the EVPs. I mean, that's what they are. You know, I've seen some AEW fans be in denial about this and be like, you know, oh, you know, nepotism is in every company. Sure, it is absolutely, like every company is about, you know, who you know to a degree. but they hire a lot of friends of the EVPs. Like, this is a company that really hires. If you're friendly with Cody or the Bucks or Kenny, you are getting a job in this company. I think that there's really only 2 prominent examples of friends of the EVPs who have not gotten a job once they were available, which would be, Joey Ryan, who, Tony apparently did not want him there even before the accusations came out, and boy, did he was he right on that call. And Marty Scurll, who they have not brought in yet, with Marty self-admitting his own accusations. Some people have said maybe the Jay thing is a trial run to bring in Marty eventually. See what the reaction is to Jay with his accusations, and then bring in Marty. It would not surprise me if that was the case. It could also just be as simple as they saw the reaction when, New Japan almost brought Marty in earlier this year, and didn't end up doing it, and decided they didn't want, it wasn't worth that, which is fine. But I guess all I'm getting down to here is, if you are a friend of these guys, whether or not bringing you into this company is going to be a big net positive, you will be hired by AEW. This company absolutely exists to hire the friends of the EVPs. It works out for the most of the time. They have plenty of guys who have come in as friends who have done well with the spot. They have also plenty of guys who have done absolutely nothing with the spot, like Cody Buddy, Sean Spears, for instance. And they have, it's a very who do you know company. And that is what it is. I'm not saying it's like, a mortal sin, but in this case, it resulted in them bringing in a guy who fucking sucks. Like, let's be real. He does not bring enough to the table as a pro wrestler, to warrant a spot in AEW, even putting aside the accusations against him. And the accusations against him should, you should not be bringing in someone with those kind of accusations, whether or not they're the best wrestler in the fucking world. But it's just amazing to me that they would look past that, they look past stuff with Darby Allin, right? There's accusations about Darby Allin that they've never really addressed. And, even if I don't agree with the fact that I think that they should have done some kind of review, and they should have announced the results of that. And, there should have been something, said about those Darby Allin accusations. You can understand it for Darby Allin, right? Because he's fucking Darby Allin, and he's immensely popular and immensely talented. Jay Lethal is Jay Lethal. Like, why are we looking, like, the fact that you're looking past accusations to bring in a guy who really does not make your company that much better is pretty egregious, and a pretty egregious example of this company in some ways existing to get their friends paid. And that's just what AEW is. I mean, you can be in denial about it the way a lot of AEW fans appear to be in denial about it, but they love to get their friends and paydays. And apparently, it didn't matter whether or not, it doesn't matter whether or not that friend has accusations of impropriety the way Jay Lethal does. So I don't know if you have anything to add about that, any of that. But.
Well, I was just underwhelmed by the signing. Accusations and all that also come into play, of course, but I don't know.
What does he have to bring to the table?
Does Jay Lethal make anyone excited, right? Jay Lethal versus who, right? Yeah. Like, what's the dream match here? Like,
Jay Lethal versus Bryan Danielson probably happened in ROH. I don't know. Like, Jay Lethal versus Adam Cole happened in ROH. I'm just like, what? There's nothing here. Like, what is so exciting about Jay Lethal here?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know where we're going. It looks like this is a true official signing too.
Yeah.
This is not just like an arc. So, yeah. I don't know. I saw it happen. I watched it, and I was kind of just like, okay. I mean, it's one of those like, well, Jay Lethal's there. Neat. Like, he doesn't bring anyone with him. He doesn't start the rumor mill going about anybody else that's exciting. It's just him. So I guess he's here
with Ring of Honor. Obviously firing the entire roster. There's just more interesting names there that you rather see. Like, where is Bandito? Where is where's Brody King? Like, where is Jonathan Gresham, his own tag partner? Like, there are so many names on that roster who could do so much more interesting things with people they have never faced before, and wrestlers they've, barely gone up against. It will be fresh and new and exciting. And they went with possibly the most boring option. Again, even putting aside the accusations, they went with the most boring option. And the reason why they went with that option is because he's fucking best friends with the Young Bucks, going all the way back to TNA. Like that's all it is to it. He knows the right people, and that's why he's here, before anybody else from Ring of Honor. So, I fully expect to see the Briscoes next, and because it's like they're buddies with the Young Bucks, so I'm sure they'll be here before too long. I mean, there's a rumored list going around that, I'm pretty sure the Briscoes are on it. So, I don't know what else to say really, except it just really is a great example of the nepotism in this company, which is, pretty strong.
But that's how companies work.
I understand, but they do it more than most, I think.
They're in position to do it more than most. So, I mean, who else is in position to do that?
I mean, maybe it says something negative about the idea of having active wrestlers. I mean, this used to be a big thing back in the day when active wrestlers would run companies. It's like, every time Dusty Rhodes would get hired, all his friends would get to run WCW, all his friends would get hired. Every time Hogan got hired, all his friends would get hired. Mm-hmm. Ole Anderson. So maybe it's just a negative thing that comes with having, wrestlers in such high positions. So, but I don't know. I mean, Rocky Romero runs New Japan, and I don't know if every single Rocky buddy gets or runs New Japan America, I should say. And I don't know if every single Rocky buddy gets a prominent position. Some of them get some stuff, but it doesn't feel as egregious as this does. So,
well, no,
you could scream at your phone right now about Dick Togo and Gato, which is look. It took him It took him 8 years to find a spot for his buddy. I mean, geez. But
and now Takamichi Noku's back.
Yeah, for one tour hopefully, and boy did he. Apparently, I didn't even see the match. Apparently, he took an ass kicking.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
League show, so took some receipts. But yeah, I mean that's gross too because Taka did some, so not to let New Japan off the hook. I mean Taka's back on a tour. When he's not signed full time or anything. It doesn't sound like it's going to be full time, but he is on a tour. He is getting booked for the first time in a long time, and he did some gross shit with where he was basically soliciting Kaientai Dojo fans to sleep with them in exchange for tickets. I believe that's the accusation, which is also very gross. I mean, what else is there to say? So yeah, he shouldn't be in New Japan, but Jay Lethal should not be in AEW, but they are because they know the right people.
Yep.
So I mean, that was kind of how the world works, I guess. But yeah, AEW does it more than most. Is I guess my point. But it's it is something that happens lots of places. That is for sure. Match number 6 for the AEW Women's World Title. And I will say, I guess the other difference between Taka and Jay is Taka is Minoru Suzuki's pin eater. He's not getting brought out on a fucking pay-per-view to do a giant interview segment and then immediately get a shot at a title. So I don't know. They do seem to treat their nepotism hires better as well. But anyway, back to the show here. Match number 6, the AEW Women's World Title. Britt Baker defeats Ty Conti in 15-16 to retain her title. This match was fine, but for a show called Full Gear, I thought it was wrestled in a half gear for quite a while. Har. But then it did pick up. Britt hit an air raid crash on Ty on the apron. That did look brutal. But then Ty kicked out back of the ring. Ty Conti hit the Ty KO, but then Britt kicked out. And we got lots of interference from Jamie and Rebel at ringside, of course. And then Ty moonsaulted the 2 henchwomen. Britt was under there too, but escaped. Not a great moonsault though. Ty looked like she kind of killed herself. And then we got another cutesy move named after herself, the DD Ty, and that didn't work either as Britt kicks out again. So Britt Baker with the very specific, I guess, strength of being impervious to moves named after like cutesy Ty Conti puns is a very specific strength, but it did appear to be the case. And then Britt ends up pinning her with a flash pin at the end. Pretty good. a little too long, like almost everything else on this show. But, I didn't dislike it. I thought it was like a pretty fun little match. I went 3.25.
You failed to mention the Ty Conti, I thought I had her pinned face.
Oh.
which made, I don't know, 3 full appearances in this match in the 15 minutes. So, yeah. Yeah. I thought the match was fine. Yeah, it was good. But yeah, the egregious NXT face was just like that bugged me a little bit. But yeah, I think this match was what I expected it to be, I guess, when it comes down to it. So I think Ty Conti's pretty good. She's gotten a lot better, right? And I think everyone talks about that. And Britt Baker's still the monster of the women's division. So she's gonna win matches like this until they really start building up, I don't know, Thunder Rosa probably. So we'll see what happens next for them.
I have a hot take here, which I'm going to throw out there because I'm already pissing off lots of people on the show. I may as well keep pissing them off. Britt Baker, she had this match with God, with what's her name? I never watched the match, so that's probably why I can't even name who it was against.
Which one? The one
Thunder Rosa.
Everyone loved her against Thunder Rosa? Yeah.
Thunder Rosa. I don't know why I completely blanked on her name. She had an amazing match with Thunder Rosa, according to most people. I never watched that match, and I will tell you why. Because I figured I would not like it anywhere near as much as most people. So I kind of was like, why watch this match and shit in everybody's cornflakes and get everybody pissed at me, and I might as well just not bother. It's like somebody else who generally shares my sort of opinions on wrestling was like, it was like every big American hardcore match I've ever seen, which people are way overrating for some reason. And I was like, okay, I don't really need to feel any great need to watch it. I probably will watch it for the end of the year for match of the year purposes. People really do talk it up to that level. But regardless of whether or not you think that was like the greatest match ever or whatever, the fact is it was a hardcore match, right? It was like some kind of street fight, I think.
It was unsanctioned.
Okay. So she gets over doing this unsanctioned street fight, which everybody loves. And as far as I can tell, they have not put her in another one of those for the rest of the year. Like, at the very least, every single one of these title matches is always just a regular wrestling match. And everybody seems to have decided that she's great based on the hardcore match without her ever actually being great in these women's title matches every month. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't think she's had a real standout, like, awesome performance in a regular wrestling match. So I guess my hot take is that Britt Baker might be kind of overrated based on that one match, which, was a very specific set of circumstances that don't at all match the rest of the matches she's been having. So
she's a great character.
I'm speaking strictly in ring. Charisma, character, she is fantastic. In ring, in regular wrestling matches, I'm not convinced that she's any kind of great worker still. So
sure, I don't think
some people can talk her up that way. I don't know.
Yeah, right, and I think she'll get pretty far based on the character work.
Wow. Match number 5, the match that I frequently forget happened on this show, was Cody Rhodes and Pac defeating Andrade and Malachi Black in 1652. I've ranted about this before, but the announcers putting over how great Cody is while he's getting booed out of the building every night, and then arguing like, oh, the fans say he's gone Hollywood. He does have a reality show and a game show. Sounds like he's fucking gone Hollywood to me, actually, but I don't believe he's gone Hollywood for a second. That shit makes the announcers sound like dorks. That is WWE shit. You never want your babyface announcers, JR and Shivani, to be against the fans because it makes them look super uncool and it makes the promotion look super uncool. And if anything, it'll probably make the Cody backlash grow, not shrink, if they even want to shrink. I know some people think Cody's playing like 7D chess and whatever. I don't even know if I agree with that, but I don't really care either way. It doesn't mean the announcers should be fucking, if that's what he's doing, it doesn't mean you have to take the announcers down with him. So Cody and Pac, they keep aggressively tagging each other in and out of the match. They're doing these hard blind tags to each other, so very aggressively tagging each other. Arn Anderson at one point beat up Andrade's Geek on the outside. This had some real good action when Pac was in there for a while. But at the same time, even when Pac was in there, with this good action, like the already kind of bad crowd by this point was just really dead for this one. Although this came after that 6-man street fight we're going to talk about in a second, where they did every move that it was ever invented in a wrestling match. So I guess I can't really blame the crowd for being dead for this one. But yeah, so Pac, he was looking for a tag from Cody. Cody was trying to recover on the outside. Cody just hits like a running clothesline on Black on the outside and gets just booed out of the fucking building. I love that. It was just really funny. And then Pac pins Andrade with the Black Arrow. This was fine. It was felt too long, like everything else on the show. I went 3 stars.
I do think I prefer this to the rumor that it was going to be a 4-way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, tag is always better.
I think this was good in that way. I think the Cody stuff is confusing, honestly. Like I don't really understand what the point is going to end up being. And yeah, overall the match was fine. Yeah, it was good. That's kind of all I got on it. It was it was good. I think I don't know. I just don't know what it advanced, and I feel like all 4 of these guys are just kind of like this lane of the mid card, and these 4 dudes, and I don't know how many more like permutations you can have of this. That's going to be interesting.
They all feel very stuck. I hope they move on to other stuff.
Yeah,
for sure. Match number 4. Which was the 6-man tag team Falls Count Anywhere match. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express defeat Adam Cole and the Young Bucks in 22-20. You told me that was 22 hours, I would have believed you, because this match felt so fucking endless. So,
some coffee's fast, but not fresh. Some coffee's fresh, but only after a long wait. Speedway coffee is made fresh at the push of a button, hot or iced, so you can have fresh coffee your way, right away. Find a store near you at speedway.com/locations.
Kent State really does care about its students, and I think that if a student wants to feel supported throughout their time here and feel like they have someone to go to for help or for advice or just to talk, Kent State is the place for that.
First of all, why was this crowd chanting "We want tables" after they had already brought tables out? It was one of the more bizarre chants I've ever heard. Like, this man has a table. He's holding a table, and the crowd starts chanting "We want tables." It's like, do you like chant "I want dinner" when you're like sitting down to eat? Like already, it's just really bizarre. Like, why are you chanting that you want something you're already getting? Very, very weird. So Adam Cole blades. Christian goes to give him a concerto, but he hands the chair over to Jungle Boy, tells him to do it. Jungle Boy takes like a million years for some reason, and the Bucks cut him off. We got some table bumps. Christian does hit a nice little balcony dive on Nick Jackson and the 2 Stooges, Nakazawa and Brandon Cutler, which that is kind of nuts at Christian's age. I gave him credit for that. They suddenly just put like thumbtacks in Jungle Boy's mouth. That just felt kind of out of nowhere. And then they just pull they super hit the thumbtacks into his mouth up to the big long setup of them kissing Adam Cole first, as usual. Then they pull a ladder out onto the ring. And even at this point, I'm already like, please, can this match be just fucking end already, please? Matt Jackson just starts fucking leaving at one point, which was very weird. It's like, what, he was abandoning Nick and Cole? I don't know if that was ever explained. Jungle Boy comes out of nowhere, locks him in STF, but Nick makes a save for him. And then Cole starts hitting low blows on everybody. They fight up to the stage where they just start doing more spots and some dives not involving weapons. And that, honestly, when they stopped using weapons for a while, that was probably my favorite part of the match. Cole, though, it quickly gets ruined by the fact that they like start kicking out of every move ever invented. So Cole hits the Panama Sunrise on Jungle Boy, leaping off the edge of the fucking like the scaffolding, which that would have been an amazing finish, but it was not the finish. The pin got interrupted. And then Cole pulls out thumbtack knee pads. The match grinds to a fucking halt when it was finally getting enjoyable. And they halted, like, sit down and put these knee pads on. They give Luchasaurus the BTE trigger, and I'm like, okay, well, at least this is, like, gonna end the match finally. But that's still not fucking finished, or still not the fucking finish. And the guy who just took the Panama Sunrise off the fucking scaffolding makes the save. This is where I was like, fuck this match, fuck this company, fuck all these wrestlers. Jim Cornette deserves an apology notice. How do you take a Panama Sunrise off of scaffolding and fucking come back 2 seconds later to save your partner from another giant move, a 3-man BTE trigger with thumbtack knee pads or spiked knee pads, still not the finish. Luchasaurus does a shooting star press off the ramp to the floor. 5,000 more moves. Why not? And then Christian finally sets up the concerto again, gives the chair to Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy finally hits it again. And if anything, after doing everything move that was ever invented with every weapon ever invented, that feels anticlimactic if anything. But it's finally the finish. I gave this 2 stars. And again, that is just in like recognition of some cool spots. But this sucked. Not as bad as the other street fight, but this still sucked.
It was a lot. It's a lot. They did a lot of
I got
things.
tired of recapping that.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, like, I need a Young Bucks match that's just a 2-on-2 tag match on a pay-per-view.
That goes like 12 minutes.
Sure, 12 to 16. I mean, if depending on the opponent, but they are doing a lot of big stuff on these. You know, they had the cage match against the Lucha Bros, and now this, right? So I don't know. I just need a pro. You know, I mean, even the Young Bucks are a certain style, right? That's less traditional, I guess. Less, yeah, traditional is probably the right word, but I need their big pay-per-view match. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of tired of the Young Bucks spots, right? Where the last one, it was a shoe with the thumbtacks, and this time it was the knee pads with the thumbtacks. Like, I'm over it. I'm done. Let's move on. Let's go back to, like, give us another cycle of just like Young Bucks are really good wrestlers. So, and we'll see. But yeah, this didn't do. I don't think this did anyone in the match any favors, just with how much they tried to do with this match. So, and it just didn't feel like it needed all that. It didn't feel like it was that big of a feud or that big of a blow off. I know it's been going on forever, but I feel like they outdid themselves in kind of a bad way.
I think a video just started auto-playing on me, so I apologize for that. Oh wait, no, that came in through my headphones, so I guess it's probably fine. You didn't hear nothing, did you?
I did not.
All right, awesome. I don't know. I just like the Young Bucks, like you said, like they do every month, every pay-per-view now. They have to have some kind of like spectacular, and it's like, can they just have a wrestling match? Like, is that okay? Like, can they just do a match with another team that like has a finish like normal human beings? Like, I can't take this anymore. Like, it just feels like either if it's not the two of them making epic drama faces with Kenny and Hangman about how they don't want to fight their opponents in the wrestling match. It's having an epic cage match, and which was awesome. That match was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
I gave that 4.5 stars. But you're not the champions anymore. I thought there was kind of going to be like a break from big epic Young Bucks, and instead they do this crazy fucking 6-man with balcony dives and knee pad fucking or spiked knee pad BTE triggers that somehow are not the finish. And I don't know. This team needs to calm the fuck down. I can't take it anymore. But so I don't really have much else to say about it, I guess. But it's just we all need a breather. So.
Yeah, just something simple maybe.
Yeah. Match number 3 was the World Title Eliminator Final. Bryan Danielson defeats Miro. by referee's decision in 1959, I should say. So Miro, he beat Bryan down slowly, and that felt like that went on forever early on. It was not very exciting, even though Bryan's selling is great as always. The crowd was not really helping either, and this was like the first time it just felt like this was a pretty weak AEW pay-per-view crowd, just really not used to hearing them be so quiet for, such long stretches in AEW pay-per-view. Why am I losing my voice when I haven't even done a show in 2 weeks? I can't tell you, but apparently I am.
You're not in ring shape.
I guess not. So at one point they start chanting, "Let's go Miro." That kind of surprised me. And you could maybe even hear like some faint booing when Danielson like did a kip up at one point. Very strange. Between that and them chanting for MJF in the opener, and they also, and you can't really call Punk Kingston part of it, but very weird crowd by AEW standards, like we talked about, where they usually go way more with the face heel stuff than this. Miro got the game over on. Danielson made it to the ropes. I don't know if I like that false submission tease there. It just felt like if Bryan had okay, I never felt like that was going to end the match, because if Bryan had tapped, this would have been up there with like Brock Cena for one-sided squashes, which they were not going to do that clearly with Bryan Danielson after so soon after coming in. So I didn't feel any drama here, because again, if Bryan had actually tapped, it just would have been way too one-sided. Danielson, though, reverses it to the label lock when Miro tried to put the game over right back on again. Miro was able to break it by force. That was pretty cool. And then he just starts hammering Bryan with elbows on the mat, but Danielson catches him with a triangle. Another cool spot when he's on the mat. Like as he's doing the pounding, basically, he catches his arm and turns it in the triangle. But Miro breaks that by gouging his eyes. But Danielson comes back and hits a DDT off the top. He pulls Miro into a front guillotine, and the referee immediately stops it. A little bit of a weird finish. Like, why he stopped that quickly, right? I did see a lot of people wondering about that. But, I thought this match was good, but a little disappointing. It was a bit slow early, hurt by the live crowd not being as into it as I thought they would be. Like, you wouldn't think Bryan Danielson would already be a old hat to these people, but, they just were not that into this match. So I went 3.5. I thought it was good, but I was expecting better.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think this was one of the matches that was most in question of who was going to win, right? And I think the intrigue was there in that way.
I want to say I really like their decision to have Bryan win, though, because it made the main event feel more like anyone could win that.
Yes, absolutely.
If Miro wins this, you're basically like, okay, well, it has to be Hangman.
It's got to be, right.
You're not doing any Miro. So.
Right. So, Danielson's the best in the world right now. He's incredible. So, this wasn't by any means bad. And I think Miro is great too. But yeah, I think I'm with you in general, where I expected this to be the match of the night, and I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't think it was really close.
Right, but it was good. It
was like the fourth best match on the show, because I didn't like anything as much as the top three, including one more we're going to get to. But there was a big gap between those three and this one for me.
Yeah, maybe it never got fully into gear, right? If you want to use the pun again. So and the finish was flat. I don't know what the story was there, what they were trying to do. So the finish, I think, affected kind of how I ended up feeling about the match. Obviously, it's the last thing I remember. So, I think I hypothesized that he was trying to hang on, and he slipped or missed it, and then it ended up being this DDT, and then he goes back for the guillotine. So, I think that was what was kind of odd about the finish. But I don't know. I'd watch these guys fight again. I think there's a better match in them. So we'll see if they get there.
I think for sure there is too. Match number 2, the AEW World Tag Titles. The Lucha Brothers defeat FTR in 1837 to retain. Lucha Brothers had this very weird, like, military bombing intro. I don't even know what that was supposed to be, really. What the hell was it supposed to be?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they have these really cool entrances, but that one didn't land with me.
Yeah.
Of like what the point was.
Yeah. This match just felt really disjointed to me. Both guys just kind of traded spots. There was like a lack of any kind of flow to it, at least to me. And the crowd got quite dead for FTR's heat period. This match had a lot of trouble following the super hot opener we're about to talk about. And FTR, they teased winning the AEW tag belts using the belt shot with the AAA belt, which is apparently how they won the AAA titles. I didn't see that, but apparently that's how they won them. But then they hit the Brainbuster right after, and Phoenix still kicks out. And again, this is another critique I make a lot of AEW matches where like the number of kickouts here really started to feel absurd. Where it's like, I don't know if every single tag title match, this one was kind of like not even, it didn't feel that big a deal to me. It clearly wasn't that big a deal to the live crowd. It was in the match, it was match 2 on the show. I don't know if every single one needs the WrestleMania kickouts like we had here. Spike pile driver, belt shots, and, just felt on and on and on. And Lucha Brothers finally got the pin on the non-legal man after they both put masks on for some reason. Who cares? I did not like this very much at all. Felt like it went on forever. It never did anything for me. I went 2.25 stars, a below average match.
Well, they put the masks on so that they could
switch. Yeah.
So they could switch. So
and they're like, "Oh, you're pitting the wrong guy. Who cares?"
Well, I'm sure someone's gonna care.
Yeah, they're gonna claim it's a fucking whatever.
Somebody's gonna care on Dynamite on Wednesday, right? So, this felt like a middle of the feud match. So that's not a blow off, and it has a little less, a little less behind it. So I like the way these guys kind of counterbalance each other, but I don't know that it's got a third match in it. So I expected this to be the end of the feud, but clearly with the illegal man getting pinned, you got to figure we're going to do this one more time. So and maybe that's maybe that's their perfect version of the match that we're finally going to get to, because we're kind of doing a trilogy.
And then the opener of the pay-per-view, one of the big 3 matches of the show. This was my favorite match of the show, and this was the one I like MJF and I like Darby, but this still blew me away. MJF defeats Darby Allin in 21:56. So there's a weird intro with Darby Allin driving a car. It's all in black and white. He picks up a guy in an MJF cardboard mask, and then I guess kills him in a car crash that he walks away from. And then he lights the car on fire. Sure. Okay. The match itself, they do a lot of mat wrestling to start. The storyline going in was MJF said he could beat Darby with a headlock takeover. So he's doing a lot of headlock takeovers. And there's a really nice arm drag off the ropes from Darby at one point, like almost like lucha style. JR, not his finest moment, calls them, quote, 2 of the 4 pillows instead of pillars. I guess he's not a big 90s All Japan watcher. I guess Jim Ross did not watch a lot of 90s All Japan with the 4 pillars because he accidentally said pillows. Darby goes for the coffin drop on MJF on the apron. MJF moves, so Darby just fucking murders himself on that apron. MJF works over his back for a bit. So, as I was saying before we got cut off there, whatever the hell happened, the crowd actually started chanting for MJF, which is pretty rare for AEW crowds. There was a dueling chant with let's go MJF, let's go Darby. And the MJF people were actually pretty loud. Can you ever recall crowds chanting for MJF to that degree? I don't think I ever have seen it before.
No, not like that. And certainly not, chant either. So, I mean, potentially, no. I mean, not in the positive. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he obviously gets huge reactions, but that was the first time I'd seen that.
But yeah, so the announcers did speculate he paid some of the fans off to cheer for him. That was pretty funny. MJF tried for a tombstone off the top rope, but Darby countered it into a diamond dust. The flipping stunner, which I'm very disappointed in Excalibur just called a regular stunner. It's like, sir, you're supposed to be a Japanese wrestling nerd. You're supposed to know this Diamond Dust. Masaru Tanaka would be very upset. But yeah, that was a very cool spot. MJF, though, does get a tombstone off the apron, but he's selling his own knee, as he had been for a while after he landed on them. I will say his selling was maybe a little over the top for me. Basically, like, Teasy's going to start crying as he limps over to Darby. But, I get it for him, where it's like he's not supposed to be a tough guy, He's a heel, and he's supposed to be kind of a baby. So it does make a little more sense for him than maybe it would for some other people, but a little over the top. We get a sequence of cradles and the big rolling cradle at the end, which the crowd goes really nuts for that. And the sequence ends really well with Darby finally reversing MJF into a code red, the sunset flip powerbomb for another very close near fall. MJF bails to the floor, so Darby coffin drops him all the way out there on the floor. It wasn't his best coffin drop. He almost didn't seem to land on him at all. But, it was, what are you going to do? That can't all be hits. It can't all be the greatest coffin drop ever or whatever. He tries for a second one, but MJF gets his knees up. Shawn Spears and Wardlow come out to try to help MJF, but Sting cuts them off on the ramp with his bat. MJF then gets Darby's skateboard, passes it to Darby, basically tells him to go ahead and hit me with it for the DQ. That's how badly he wanted just the win here. Darby gives it the ref, but that lets MJF hit Darby with the Ring of Death, and he gets the headlock takeover for the win. I did like that he did the headlock takeover at the end. It was like,
yeah, that was awesome.
He was like, I beat you with this headlock takeover because I knocked you out first, obviously, with a weapon. But I went 4 1/4 on this as well. Pretty fucking awesome by the end of it. Even if I thought the crowd started chanting, "This is awesome," a little too soon. Like, it was not yet quite awesome. And across both these shows, I'm like, we got to calm down with "This is awesome" chants. Like, there should be a rule that if you have not been reacting to the match for the past 10 minutes, you don't get to chant "This is awesome" immediately after that. It's like, it clearly wasn't awesome because you weren't even fucking reacting to it. But anyway, it was honestly maybe even bigger problem in the Battle in the Valley show we're about to talk about. But yeah, they both worked incredibly hard here. And I thought this match was just this is my favorite match of the show. Very close between the Kenny Page main event and the Punk in Kingston. But I think this was my favorite. So these two guys tore the house down here. So yeah, and the show started really well and ended really well. There's just a lot of stuff in between that was not very good.
Yeah, and this felt like the perfect opening match for this particular pay-per-view, which I think was geared towards fans or even super fans of the promotion. I don't know that this was geared to be the first pay-per-view that anyone buys, right? So I think that putting these guys out there first was the right move. And I think that Minneapolis crowd, I mean, they may have genuinely thought it was awesome, but this was just the first big AEW match that they're seeing in their market. So, and I don't know that there was as many fly-ins as you would see in Vegas or Chicago. And I don't know that that's what they were depending on. So, yeah, love this match. I think Darby is a star. MJF is a star in a certain way too. So, I mean, this was actually a really big match when it comes down to the kind of the history as well as the future of AEW. So, glad to see MJF win too. I think Darby's one of those guys that he's not necessarily quite as immune to losing as someone like Eddie Kingston, but he's in that same lane that he can lose and he's still cool as hell. So, had a blast. Loved this match. It was really truly the perfect kickoff for this pay-per-view.
So there you go. There's our Full Gear review, which I'm sure was a lot less positive than some other Full Gear reviews. And I'm kind of worried about my podcast reviews now because some AEW fans go very hard. But, on balance, there was plenty of stuff I really enjoyed here. I just am not of the opinion that this was one of the best shows ever or whatever. It just really was not close to the level for me. I mean, All Out was one of the best American pay-per-views I'd ever seen. This was a very uneven show that had some stuff I really loved and some stuff I really hated. So, probably a thumbs up show on balance, but there definitely were some moments watching this where I was like, I never want to watch American wrestling again. So there you go. All right, so we did a lot longer on Full Gear than I thought we would. So let's get to Battle in the Valley from the same night on Saturday, November 13th. This time from the San Jose Civic Center in San Jose. Oh, did you watch the pre-show match for Full Gear?
I did not.
I didn't watch it either, so we can't review it. But yes, there you go. But yeah, so this show, it did an attendance of 1,655. I thought I saw them say they were like getting close to 3,000 tickets sold, so that was a little weird.
Oh, I don't know where you would have seen that. I never saw that. So, but it could happen. Yeah, I think the building was set up for just a little over 20 or 2,000, maybe 2,100. So, they didn't quite get to no vacancy.
There you go. The opener, which was Josh Alexander against Uemura. Actually, now we can start from the main event again. That's what the order my notes are in. One thing to know about this show in general, the production was awful. I think that's something New Japan and USA, they have to figure out this production because, Resurgence was not great, especially at the start, but this show was consistently just even way worse than Resurgence. I mean, like the frame rate was fucked up. It looked really it looked like it was like a 480 or something, or like it looked like it was in like less than standard definition. I mean, it was a really awful looking show. I mean, the production just felt like you were watching a 2004 Ring of Honor show or something. I mean, just really maybe not that bad, but really bad. And I just, they got to figure that out because these American shows should not look this much worse than their Japanese shows. I don't know if it's fixed now on the replay or anything like that. I was watching the fight replay on the Fight TV replay on the English commentary on Sunday. So I don't know if the new replay upload to New Japan World is fixed at all. But this looked awful.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they've fixed the version that's on New Japan World, but that seems to happen with these ones that they poured over to Fight for whatever reason. And those are the New Japan of America shows, but then they have a clean copy. So like part of me thinks that it's the connection or, whatever the uplink. So it's a bummer because these shows are good, I think. Right. But so much of the conversation and, so much of the lack of appeal of these shows ends up being that they're hard to watch because they're just choppy or weird, or like they look like a GCW show, right? Like that's what everything I ever watched from that company looks like because it's all on Fight TV. So I don't know, maybe it's Fight TV. Because anything live I watch from them kind of looks the same. But this is not what New Japan fans expect, right? We're used to good, really good production. So it's a shame.
The other like big macro observation, I did think this show was quite a bit weaker than Resurgence. I just, there was like one match here that I thought was really awesome, and then a bunch of stuff that just kind of was there. And a big macro observation about this show is the people in the building who are obviously must be pretty hardcore New Japan Western fans to want to come out to see them on the same night as an AEW pay-per-view. And, they were not into the strong people. I mean, they just were not that in to, like Fred Rosser and them got almost no reaction. Like Team Filthy got very little reaction.
Filthy got some reaction.
A little bit. Not like biggest pushed act on the show or anything like that.
Okada was on the show, so
right. But they're like the biggest pushed acts.
You're saying that they are the biggest pushed act on the show?
Yeah, I'm Strong.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like, it's a very. I've totally lost my train of thought because Quinlan texted me something very weird. It's weird seeing them come out and get like a little bit of reaction. Like the guys who got reaction to the show were people who have wrestled in New Japan, right? And Okada was treated like a god, which he always is in America. But Ishii was treated like you got a big reaction. It just the difference in reaction between the top Japanese stars and the strong regulars was pretty jarring. And even a guy like Will Ospreay, who's obviously wrestled in Japan a lot, if anything, he feels like he's been hurt by being on Strong all this time and not being in Japan for all these months, because the crowd did not, he had his fans, but he did not seem as over on TV here as, he was in Philly when I was there. So I don't know if it's just this crowd does not watch. It was clearly not a Strong watching crowd or anything, but they did not seem that into much of anything until, you got to once Okada came out and the crowd started going crazy for him in that match, it was like, okay, this is a crowd that came to see like one guy, pretty much.
Yeah, well,
really
I think the main event too.
Yeah,
I think that was obviously for a long time it was the only match announced for the show. So, but yeah, I kind of agree. I felt like they got pretty good reactions. I thought Team Filthy was like pretty over, and that people were very interested in seeing that act as a whole. And when we talk about that match, obviously that match was fun, like really fun.
Yeah,
so
I like that match quite a bit, and they did come off like stars, but like but then they also almost like when I was watching them, I was like, well, why isn't the crowd reacting to them as big as I'm imagining they should in my head, maybe.
Sure.
But
well, it was a small crowd. Comes down to it. I mean, 1,600's good. Don't get me wrong.
They made a lot of noise for Okada.
They made a lot of noise for Okada. So, yeah, I think you're right to a point, but I think that changes as soon as those dudes show up in Japan. Like this,
I agree too.
Cast of characters.
That was kind of the point I was making before, where I think these guys need to go. Once these guys go to Japan and really get over in Japan, I think they'll be more over in America as a result. So, the main event here was for the never openweight title. Tomohiro Ishii defeats Jay White in 28-40. So Jay fails in just his second defense of this title. How the fuck is this only his second defense of this title? Feels like he's had this thing for a million years. But I guess that's
he won it in what was that, May? Dontaku, right?
It feels even longer than that somehow. But that's still like 5 months or whatever, right?
Yeah, that would have been almost 6. Yeah,
almost 6 months. So he made one defense in 6 months. Who was his one defense against?
David Finlay at Resurgence.
Oh yeah, Resurgence. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Because he's not defending that on Strong, even though he's having matches. None of his matches on Strong have been for the Never title.
It is interesting. I wonder if they just decided the Never title was too important to have on Strong.
I mean, it kind of seemed that way.
Yeah, or they don't want to maybe if you want to be more diplomatic to Strong, they only want to have the Strong title defended on Strong. I don't know.
Yeah, and well, they've done the U.S. and Strong, but I think they did the U.S. before the Strong existed. So, and you don't see the Strong title defended on like this show because this is not Strong.
Yeah, they only defend on actual Strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that's an interesting strategy, but. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like they kind of faded away on using the Never Openweight Championship, even though they set up this match at the Strong tapings that I was at.
Yeah. So interesting, though. But yeah, so Jay White, I mean, this is going to go down as one of the less memorable Never title reigns, I would think. I mean, just,
I don't know. I mean,
guys on the rest title reign.
Well, right, exactly. So this will be
maybe that is memorable. Maybe that's what you mean.
In a way, yeah. I don't know that Jay White ever like fit what people want to see from the Never title, right? Yeah. So like I don't think people were excited that he wanted to see where he was going to go, even though it ended up being this kind of lost title reign. And because we're right back to the world is healing, as people like to say, because Ishii's the never champ. So.
This is what, his 6th reign as champion?
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot.
I want to say 6. Let's find out. Maybe I'm way overstating it, but I really.
No, it's. I'm sure it's up there.
Yeah. So Tomohiro Ishii, he won the Never title. Yeah, because he says he captured it a record 5 times. So unless they already updated that, let's see. Yeah, 6 times. Wow, I feel impressed with myself. I pulled that really out of my ass. I was just thinking, like, I think he already held it 5 times. I think this would be 6 times. So there you go. That's why they pay me the big bucks, folks.
There it is.
I mean, no one pays me. But there you go. Tomohiro Ishii 6-time never champion now. He already had the record at F5. I believe the next person will probably be Goto, I would think. Yeah. So he and Goto were tied. I didn't realize Goto had 5 already. I thought he had like 4. So Ishii and Goto were tied at 5 reigns each. Ishii had him beat, though, on combined days as champion. He was already ahead of him. Goto was at 424, and Ishii was, I guess, at 4... if this was updated today. Yeah, Ishii was at like 463. But Goto actually has the record still for most combined defenses. He has 7 defenses across 5 reigns. And Ishii had only 6 defenses and 6 reigns. So yeah, nobody holds his belt for very long, folks.
Yeah, this is the belt actually that has the greatest percentage of title changes per the defenses. So yeah. It bounced around a lot for a long time there. And now you still don't get a bunch of like long defense reigns, right? I mean, even Tanahashi and Jay White, like they only defended once, I think. Yeah,
so the most defenses for one reign, I'm gonna put you on the spot again. Do you want to try to? There's 3 wrestlers tied. Do you want to try to guess who they are?
Goto?
Nope.
Really? No, I don't know. I can't.
Masato Tanaka in the very first reign.
Oh yeah, that's a hell of a. That was a long reign.
He had 4 defenses over the course of 314 days. Ishii, in his first reign when he won it in New Beginning Osaka, had 4 defenses in 138 days. So he had 4. He had 4 defenses in his first reign. Yeah, 4 defenses in his first reign, and then I guess only 2 over the next 4 reigns.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. And then the last guy is Minoru Suzuki. So that reign everybody hated. When he won it in 2017, did all his gimmick matches, he had 4 defenses as well. So, 3-way tie there. Hopefully somebody can break it because I hate seeing a 3-way tie for the top of any.
I don't think Ishii's gonna break it on this run. I think they're gonna end up needing it.
Masato Tanaka still has the longest reign at 314, so no one's ever beaten the first reign for longest reign. But yeah, for defenses, 3-way tie. So. We'll see if anyone ever beats that. There's amazing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 fucking reigns with 0 defenses. That's insane.
That's
Ishii did it 3 times.
Yeah.
Suzuki did it once in 2020. Shibata did it in 2016 when he won it back from Nagata. Nagata did it obviously himself. Taichi's first reign 2018. Makabe's first reign 2015 when he vacated it. Taichi again in 2019 when he won it in Dontaku and lost it back to Ishii. Goto did it twice, November 2018 and January 2020. Ibushi did it in December 2018. We lost it to Ospreay.
Oh yeah.
Evil when he won it at Power Struggle, lost it back to Shibata in Singapore. Michael Elgin when he won it in that horrible 3-way match.
Oh yeah.
Lost it right back to I think Taichi, and then Ishii hasn't made a defense yet. So I count Ishii's actually. So that one is currently a 0 defense rate. It might not end up being 1. And then Jeff Cobb when he won the belt at G1 Supercard and lost it to Taichi. So so at least 14 0 defense reigns. Maybe soon to be 15 if Ishii also loses it. So.
Yeah, well, and we'll probably figure out who he's. I don't know how they're going to set that up.
Yeah, because they don't have any other shows left until World Tokyo Dome that aren't tournament shows. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Ishii's not booked.
Yeah. But yes, the match itself, Ishii beat him in 28-40 with the vertical drop brainbuster. I did not love this. I thought it was, how do I say this? Very methodically paced Jay White type of match for the first 10 minutes especially. And just felt very slowly paced throughout. I don't know what the deal was here, but I thought this was easily the weakest Jay Ishii match I've ever seen. It's just usually a pairing that really, usually delivers for me a lot. They've had some awesome matches together. I just did not think this was, was one of them. And I thought the live crowd, goes absolutely fucking dead just when they should probably be peaking for the big stretch run, which I didn't think really, reflected that well in the match. They did finally get back into it when Ishii kicked out of the Jay Brainbuster at 1. that was a cool spot. And he started staggering around like a crazy person before collapsing back down to the mat. The crowd then starts a very tepid "This is awesome" chant, which, again, to my rule, you should have to be cheering for a match before you can chant "This is awesome," which they were not like right before that. And then things do pick up with the final stretch run. Jay takes a very nice lariat from Ishii for a near fall, and then Ishii follows up with the brainbuster to win the title, to a pretty huge pop from the crowd. They did love Ishii winning the belt. The Never belt can finally come back to Japan. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it back in Japan. It just felt like something's missing, something's been missing. But yeah, overall,
I mean, any sort of secondary title was missing for a while.
That's true. And like they've been using US title, I guess, lately, but that just feels weird. As a second, well,
that was another Tanahashi transition reign.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
But yeah, this match I thought was supremely disappointing. I don't know. Just didn't do much for me. I went 3 1/4. It's as high as I could go, really. I just was not into this at all.
Yeah, I don't think it was their best by any means. I think my favorite match of theirs was the
G1.
G1, yeah. Well, G1, where
the one where he went, where
Ishii stopped Jay White from going on to the final. So, and then they've had 2 kind of, I don't know, less great matches since. They wrestled at Castle Attack earlier this year, and now this match. I don't know, I mean, it's hard to say that this match was the right main event for this crowd, because when you bring in someone like Okada and then you have him face someone new, obviously you're not gonna put that in the main event, but that's gonna generate some intrigue. So
all right, folks, so we got cut off again. Chris was in the middle of talking about Ishii and Jay White, but we're not sure where he got cut off exactly, so he'll just kind of try his best to jump into it. Zencaster being a bitch tonight.
I'm most intrigued by what's happening with Jay White based on the fact that he's no longer a title holder. So what I was kind of saying is that I'm curious if this is just Ishii getting the title back to Japan, or if this is getting the title off of Jay White. So I don't want to jump into the rumors.
It adds to a storyline, right? If the rumors are a storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So, it definitely plays into it, let's say.
I mean, I think it plays into it either way, right? But, yeah. I mean, certainly it's possible that they'll kind of run back with whatever they were trying to do last January, where Jay, acted like he was leaving. So I don't know why you would do that again, but maybe they think there's more to it.
Yeah. So let's get into the semi-main event here, which was Kazuchika Okada defeating Buddy Matthews in 16:23 with the Rainmaker. The crowd, they went absolutely insane for Okada in a way they didn't come close to reacting to anyone else on the show up to this point. They just see him as a completely different level of star than anybody else. So, it was just really amazing. Then the match is a bit slow and a bit awkward to start. Both guys just kind of throw elbows and they wander around. Buddy does a pretty cool sunset flip off the second rope into a buckle bomb, and then he follows that up with a repeated elbows to the head, Danielson style. Okada sells that he's out. The referee is checking on him, but then Okada comes back pretty quickly after that with the normal landslide tombstone into Rainmaker combo, and that gets the pin. I've seen takes from this match like all over the place. I'm definitely in the camp that this was pretty disappointing. It was a good match, but did not blow me away at all. I went 3.5 on this. So
I felt like this was the first version of the match that these guys are going to have, and I think that, I don't know that anyone sees that Buddy Matthews is going to, literally change things for New Japan, but I feel like there's more to this arc with Okada, right? I don't think you bring a guy in and you put him in the ring with Kazuchika Okada first if you don't plan on him being a part of your plans going forward. So I think that's why we didn't get 100% out of this match. And I think that they have a big main event style match in them, and this just wasn't the spot for that.
Yeah. I mean, just they probably do have a better match than them. That's for sure. Match number 6 on the show was, I should mention also, actually, the post-match angle where Ospreay comes out, confronts Okada, tells him, you can challenge the real world champion. Okada says, I won't challenge you, but you can challenge me. And then Ospreay finally says the winner of Okada and Shingo can face him on January 5th. And Okada agrees to it right away. I hated this. I hated this on so many different levels. I hate when wrestlers can just like book these insanely complicated things on the fly. Like, why does New Japan, the people who in canon run New Japan, the New Japan board of directors, champions,
that would be the IWGP.
There you go, the IWGP committee, right? That's the thing.
Yes.
And why don't they give a fuck that Will Ospreay's been running around this fake world title for 4 months? Why are they okay with Will Ospreay booking himself in the main event of the Tokyo Dome against the winner of Okada and Shingo? Why, and most of all, why was Shingo Takagi not here? I'm sure there has to be some real life reason why he's not here, but I think, I don't know if I should say this out loud. Maybe he was supposed to be there, right? But he couldn't get there. I'm not saying I got that from anybody, but I'm just going to say, maybe he was supposed to be there. Regardless, though, of whether he was supposed to be there or wasn't, the fact that he wasn't there made this come off so fucking flat. It's like the actual world champion, the man who is the actual IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, is not here. So what you have are two guys both carrying around belts that they are not the holders of, challenging each other without the actual world champion involved. It just came off so stupid to me. Just a terrible angle. And, I am totally on team Tetsuya Naito on this one. I know I was really surprised. But team Naito on this one, where he says this angle's stupid, the fans don't know what's going on, and even the wrestlers themselves look like they don't know what's going on. And it's a very stupid, convoluted angle. And not having Shingo there just makes it even dumber. So,
coming into this match, coming into the show, I guess, I expected Shingo to show up when Ospreay did and pop the crowd. But and then also the three of them have their little powwow in the middle of the ring. But once then I heard Shingo was on Japanese commentary, and I was like, oh, bummer. Because you knew this angle was coming, right? You knew they were going to set something up for Wrestle Kingdom here. It's the last big show before anything, so they had to get the main event set. So, but yeah, I agree. I think anyone who's been paying attention kind of could see where this was going and that this was what was going to happen. But it's a shame that they couldn't get all the parties involved in the ring together, because I guess now maybe we see that at the Road to Tokyo Dome.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. Right.
And why is Ospreay the one who gets to face the winner? I mean, he's not the champion.
Right.
Shingo is the champion.
And why did Jay White get to go on January 5th last year?
I mean,
right?
that also made no sense. Everybody complained about it. So,
right.
It's one of these things where I hope people keep the same energy, even though it involves their fucking golden boy here, Will Ospreay. But, and Kazuchika Okada, who lots of people are excited to see win the belts back and stuff, which, I'm less excited than some people on that, I'm sure. But
I think people like that Okada is good again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just one of these things where, I feel like some people give the convoluted nature of this angle more of a pass than they would if it involved, let's say, Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi. Putting it out there, because I feel like there's less pushback on this. I guess you could also argue maybe it's just because people are used to this convoluted stuff now, but I feel like there are some people on the internet, and I'm not going to name names, who are complaining a lot less about this convoluted multi-day setup with Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay than they did with Naito, Ibushi, and Jay White last year. So, and Shingo Takagi, who's also a favorite of a lot of people too. So, just throwing that out there, and the world can get mad at me if they want to.
I think you said it somewhere in there that people are just kind of used to it and they expect it. They expect some sort of mini tournament for these 2-night.
I'm gonna throw this out there too. I want to throw this out there too. This one's dumber than the double titles. This is my opinion, but
I don't mind this. I don't mind this one, honestly. I think
they all have like different belts, and except Ospreay has the same belt, and it's just so fucking like But
Ospreay has an actual point. Like he never lost the title.
Ospreay has an actual point. He fucking was told, but he was told show up and defend your title, and he said, "I don't want to do that." And they stripped him like they've stripped every champ. Like this is not some new rule they made up for Will Ospreay. Like when Jon Moxley got stripped of the U.S. title, he did not show up with a fucking "I'm the real U.S. champion. I never lost the belt because
they didn't strip him.
At least they did strip him. Remember no, you're thinking of a different stripping when Moxley couldn't
when he couldn't show up to King of Pro Wrestling,
right? Because that's the rule. If you
because there was a match booked. Right.
If there's a match booked and you can't show up or you won't show up, this is a very consistent New Japan rule. Jon Moxley has a way better excuse than Will Ospreay. There was a fucking hurricane and he couldn't make he couldn't make it to Tokyo. So they still stripped him of the title and they made it Lance Archer against I think Juice Robinson, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the title match, and Jon Moxley didn't walk around with a fucking phony U.S. title like, I'm still the real champion. It's like this is a very well established thing. Togi Makabe got stripped the Never title because he had the fucking flu. All more legitimate reasons than Will Ospreay getting his fucking feelings hurt or whatever the hell happened during the Gaijin Unrest shit. So I don't know. I think I get it. He's a heel. I understand that. It's just it's a very stupid angle. It's like, it's not 1992. He's not Rick Martel. I don't need to, or Shawn Michaels or whatever. I don't need to see this fucking, fake belt shit. It's such a stupid angle. I don't know. I don't like it at all. But,
all right.
And then you have Okada with another belt where he did not win. Okada, you have less claim to that belt than even Will Ospreay has to the world title belt. And it was like when he started bringing that belt out, I'm like, why would you want to add another belt to this mix? Just very bizarre. It's like he never had a good excuse for that. He's just like, oh well, I like this belt, and I'm gonna have what else? I think he muttered something about how Ibushi never lost his belt, and it's the only real belt to him.
He ties it back to the Ibushi putting the two belts together, and that's messy.
It's a mess. I mean, just a complete mess, and doesn't really make a ton of sense. And none of this does anything for January 8th either. Like, who is going to be
not yet, right?
Who is going to be the challenger for January 8th? Because I've heard some people say, "Oh, Shingo's going to lose to Okada, and then Okada's going to lose to Ospreay, and then Shingo will challenge Ospreay." Which that sounds awful. I hope they don't do that.
Oh yeah. Well, that would be that would be the match. But I hope they don't do that.
We're gonna go to January 4th and 5th with no main event for the 8th. That'd be fucking terrible.
Yeah, that's unless they're doing the 8th like it's New Year's Dash.
Then why call it Wrestle Kingdom?
To sell tickets?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they'll do it like New Year's Dash. I don't think it'll be Mystery Vortex by any means, but I mean, they're gonna have a tough time setting up a lot of stuff because there's not that much time.
Yeah,
and you're really bogged down with this double tournament tour that's happening. So we'll see. I don't know. I feel like it all came together pretty quick last year too, so I shouldn't be too terribly surprised. But yeah, they're gonna have to run their angles on YouTube.
Which already that looks so Shingo did his little 1 minute emergency promo and it was hey, I'm the champion, I want to fight both of you, I guess, or Ospreay wants to fight me, great. And it's what he came up such a fucking afterthought. I mean, even he says in his promo where he's like, oh, these two have some sibling rivalry going on. I'm like, yeah, which you're not a part of, and you're the fucking world champion. It's just very I don't know. I just felt like he was a third wheel here, where it's could you fucking broadcast that Shingo's losing to Okada anymore? But it makes him feel like such a lame duck champion.
Yeah, he does kind of feel that way in the mix with these guys. So, and I'm pretty convinced Ibushi I think there's a good chance Ibushi was supposed to win the title between
yeah,
the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom. So,
and you know what? I don't mind that he didn't, because I don't really think he deserves to be lame duck champion, man. And it feels like I don't know. It feels like that would be a pretty shitty thing to do to him after he unified these belts together and then lost it to Ospreay in his first defense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's have Naito show up with the white belt again. Why not? Let's keep it going.
Isn't that the next thing to happen, right? Somehow that belt makes its way back? Or what? I mean, what are we going to do? Is Naito going to win the G1 next year, and that's going to be his representation of it?
I don't know. Who was making fun of this and said Tanahashi should show up with the U30 and call it the over 40?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who was doing that.
I remember the chat, yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember who said that. But yeah, it's so stupid. Yeah, very stupid.
I truly don't mind the Ospreay thing. I think that's just like his heelish way of getting back into the title, picture after coming back. So I don't mind that one. And Okada being kind of a crazy person and carrying around a belt, like maybe that doesn't bother me either, but I do feel like there's a chance this is some sort of lane for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship to coexist.
That would be crazy to me. Like, you might as well just take the world title belt and light on fire then. Because, like, who the fuck is going to care about this world title belt they already don't like when the real heavyweight title still exists?
Right. I feel like that would be a
very
challenge.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
Very bad idea.
So, I mean, it's already a bad idea to put it on Okada and, like, have him carried around, I think, but, like, I guess it makes the stakes all the same for everyone. Like, but if Okada wins, what's he going to be like? Okay, I got what I needed out of this old belt that I carried around for 720 days, and he's going to just pick the other belt. Like, no, I don't know. Like, is Okada?
If they just seal the world title and pretend it never happened, I wouldn't really blame them. But
they might be doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That sounds crazy to me, but
it's less crazy to me than trying to have them both exist at once.
Well, I think if they both existed at once and they had a good structure around that, it just becomes the IC again,
But the world is going to end up being the IC.
Right. Well, that's what I agree, actually. Which would be fine, I guess.
But it's a stupid name. You're going to call your second most important belt in the company the World Heavyweight title?
I don't know. I didn't do it.
It's fine. It's fucking stupid. But yeah, I mean, and the Ospreay thing, to go back to that, I get that he's a heel and all that, but like, it just makes him look like a fucking idiot to me. It's like you're walking around with this toy belt that you never fucking, that clearly is not the real world title belt. You can yell about how you're a real world champion all the time. Obviously, everybody knows Shingo's the actual champion, and it's like, I don't know. It's like it's mid-card heel shit to me. It's like, look at this moron with his fake belt. It just, I don't know. It's like, why is he doing it? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's like, we all know you deserve a rematch. I mean, for this belt you never lost. It doesn't mean you to carry around a toy belt with you and pretend you're the champion when you're not.
Well, to be fair, the belt was made by the same person that made the first belt.
But it's not the actual belt.
Well, who knows? I actually think the one
Shingo has is not the actual belt?
No. They're both the actual belt. They're both made by the same guy, but I think the one that Ospreay has is the size ratio that they actually want. Because like the side plates are a lot smaller and it actually looks a lot more normal. The Shingo one is so big and like clunky. So I think if they end up sticking with the world title, I think the one Ospreay has is the one people are going to carry. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah. I only know that because
I fucking hate. I don't want to talk about belts no more.
All right.
Why do you know that? I'm sorry. I mean,
I talked to the guy who made the belt.
There you go.
I asked because I had some questions about the belt.
I'm so sick of this belt shit. Fucking at this point, I understand this is all Naito's fault. He started it with the double titles. Just fucking fire all these belts. Just pick a belt and fire the rest of them in the fucking sun. Like, enough. I don't even care anymore. Yes, the heavyweight still looks better, but Jesus, it's so fucking stupid. Just pick a belt and fucking get rid of the rest of them and never bring them back.
This could be a means to an end where we are going to end this whole thing with one belt. I think that's the most likely outcome.
Until next year, when we need another disputed reason to have to fucking, like you said, Naito will win the G1 and bring out the IC belt to represent his G1 win, and then somebody will show up with a fake IC belt, and I don't like so. It's all so fucking stupid. All right, match number 6 was Juice Robinson against Moose. Moose defeated him in 14:51 with the lights out spear. Gonna try to speed things up a bit here because we're almost 2 hours in, I feel like. Although I don't even know how long we're in anymore because we've had so many disruptions. This was a good match. I don't have a lot of strong thoughts on it anyway, to be honest. They work pretty well together. I don't really love either guy, especially at this point in their careers. Moose won it with his spear. The live crowd did seem to be a lot more into it than I was, so maybe this was better than I give him credit for. But I went 3 1/4. Thought it was pretty good, but not much more than that.
I half expected Juice Robinson to win this match to set up a championship program with Moose in Impact, but that didn't happen. Yeah, it was fine. I don't know what it was. Kind of one of those, like, I'm not really sure what the point of this is, but
to set the post-match angle, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess that was it because it didn't set anything up for Impact.
Now, after the match, I will say, so Jonah Rock comes out. Okay, he's the former Bronson Reed in NXT. He comes out as Moose is celebrating his win. I didn't like this angle. I'm going to give you a very specific reason. So he comes out and teases he's going to attack Moose, and then it turns out to be, he's a heel. He attacks Juice. The problem with that angle is the entire time he's coming out, I'm thinking, why, if he's going to feud with the Impact World Champion, why would they not film that on Impact? Like, the entire time I'm thinking, like, this has to be like a fucking swerve or something, because if he's going to feud with Moose, they would just fucking feud in Impact. They wouldn't have, like, Impact would not shoot an angle for their world champion to face a debuting wrestler in New Japan. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to turn on Juice and lay him out instead. And that's what he does, of course. After a long tease, he finally attacks Juice with the big senton, because, of course, he's going to attack a New Japan guy on the New Japan show, not the Impact World Champion. I will say the crack camera crew here nearly misses it. They only get to the very end of Jonah Rock attacking him with the senton because they were filming Moose up the rampway still. Finley comes out to try and save Juice, also gets destroyed by Jonah. So all the stuff with Jonah looked good. I mean, he looked like a big monster, but just the actual, like, is he gonna fight Moose tease? Like, I just, like, that doesn't make any logical sense that they would do that. So it was a very weird angle in that respect.
Yeah, it's good to see that New Japan is still acquiring talent, though. So I think that'll be. I think he's a good fit.
He clearly wanted to go there. I mean, you see all the tweets and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what he does when he's done with Juice and David Finlay.
Match number 5. This was the highlight of the show to me, at least. Will Ospreay beat Ren Narita in 15:43 with the Hidden Blade. I will say San Jose was, like, a lot more negative on Ospreay than the Philly crowd I was a part of, famously. Although he does still have his supporters still, though. I feel like there may have been... there were some fans like this in Philly, too, who I think decided to consciously not make any noise for Ospreay. Like, they don't like him, but they don't want to boo him. So, because, like, this real issue they have with him, they don't want to express his wrestling boos, right? Because that technically helps the heel, right? I feel like San Jose, just looking at the crowd during the match, a lot of people just sitting there, not making any noise. I think they may have also decided to do that, like, even more than in Philly. Because, this match weirdly had, like, less heat than some of the undercard matches beforehand, which you would not expect necessarily for, Ospreay and Narita here. Ospreay kicked the crap out of him for a bit. Then he did the Shibata pose to mock him. There was a cool spot where Narita, he dived, or he basically, he got out of the way of an Ospreay, dive to the outside. Ospreay landed on his feet, but then immediately took a big overhead belly to belly from Narita on the floor. And then he got him in a Scorpion Deathlock. That was kind of cool. And they set it up really well with Ospreay missing a 450 and, like, hurting his knees. And then Narita, like, does a great job fighting his way into it with these, like, big slaps. Again, very Shibata style to set it up. Will struggled and then eventually made the ropes. Just a really great sequence there. So Narita, he puts up a good fight here. Even kicks out of the Oscutter, but then finally gets put away by the Hidden Blade from Ospreay, which he uses as like his secondary finisher when he doesn't use the Stormbreaker. But yeah, this was pretty awesome. Easily match of the night. I went 4 stars flat on it. I thought this was an awesome match.
Yeah, I agree. I think Narita looked awesome. Ospreay gave him a lot. But this was, I don't know. It's Narita heavyweight when he comes back. Is that where?
That seems to be where they're going.
Okay, because he should be, especially after this match, seeing him kind of with the growth against Ospreay, compared to their best Super Juniors match. So, yeah, it was really, really, really good. And I think, I want to see Ren Narita back in Japan soon, though. So, because right now he's at this weird middle ground in the US. So, and I think he's going to be, that roster could use that talent. And I don't know what reason there would be that Narita can't go back. So, yeah, loved it. My favorite match of this show as well. So, I think worth seeking out if you want to get to know Ren Narita and kind of where Ospreay's at right now.
But yeah, so after, I kind of thought like you were saying, Ren Narita, he just looks ready to go back to Japan right now. So, I don't know when they're going to bring him back, but he looks more than ready. And like him bringing that like Shibata style, I think is something that the New Japan roster could really use in Japan anyway. So
yeah, absolutely. Match
number 4, we had the team of Carl Fredericks and Clark Connors beating Jeff Cobb and TJP from the United Empire. Carl pinned TJP in 10 minutes, exactly 10 minutes, with the inside cradle. Pretty standard tag match. Not much stood out to me here. I thought it was fine. Finish was very old school. Clark Connors turned the inside cradle over to give Fredericks the pin on TJP. So surprising upset. But other than that, I don't know if I should call it a surprising upset because TJP is a junior and Carl, I guess, is a heavyweight and no longer Young Lion. But it still felt like an upset that they won this match. So just especially with Cobb on the other side. But yeah, I thought this was just fine. I went 3 stars. Nothing wrong with it, but not much that stood out to me here.
Yeah, I think this felt like an upset because they've booked United Empire really, really strong in Japan, Jeff Cobb included. But I think when you add in their other members now into the mix, especially TJP, I think, I don't think TJP is quite like lost post worthy, but because he's going to be the only junior for now, at least. But yeah, I was surprised to see Fredericks and Connors get the win. But I think maybe that's more indicative of what we see from United Empire when TJP is involved.
Match number 3 was the 10-man tag. The team of Fred Rosser, David Finlay, Rocky Romero, Alex Coughlin, and Alex Zane defeated the Team Filthy, Tom Lawler, JR Kratos, Danny Limelight, Royce Isaacs, and Jarrell Nelson. Rosser pinned Isaacs in 15-12 with the gut feeling. Team Filthy, they really do great work as a heel stable. I mean, you got these idiots dancing around, including Tom Lawler himself, who you still know could kill a man if he wanted to, but he's like dancing around. And then you have this giant JR Kratos just standing there menacingly like, I am a very large man, and I know these men are goofs, but they are my goofs. I am ready to kill anybody who messes with them. It's a great dynamic. A classic heel dynamic. Rosser gave Tom Lawler a backdrop suplex on the apron pretty much right from the start. That was really cool. And that broke down to a total wild brawl, everybody at ringside. And this is your very typical like strong multi-man tag. Everybody worked hard. Everybody got at least one big signature spot. We got a fun dive from Rocky. And after teasing it on many shows leading up to this, JR Kratos finally does a dive to the outside. That was awesome.
That was wild. Yeah.
Really wild spot. Coughlin actually manages to deadlift gut-wrench suplex Kratos. Also very impressive. And Rosser ends up escaping a double team from Lawler and Isaacs and then pins Isaac with his power slam. A lot of fun here. I went easy 3.5 stars here. Definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was so fun. I had a great time, and that Kratos spot was incredible. He didn't look that terrible doing it. He didn't look great, but yeah, I had a great time with this one. Love Team Filthy. I think that's a great act, and I think that's an act that could get over if you didn't get overseas. Like that's an act that people would really, I think, appreciate too. So, yeah, good fun time.
Match number 2. This was the unfortunate injury match. Bateman, all caps. I did not realize he was an all caps guy until I saw it here.
It's an all caps guy.
Bateman and Mysterioso, the Stray Dog Army, they defeated the team of Violence Unlimited, Brody King and Chris Dickinson. Bateman ends up rolling up Dickinson after the injury in 10:08. Before I get to the injury, I do want to say I sort of like Bateman. I don't know what it is. Like I saw him and the other Stray Dog Army members at the Strong taping I went to, obviously in Philly a few weeks back, and like Bateman has like that weird like indie heel charisma where like you can tell there's something about this dude. Like he just kind of draws you in, even though he doesn't do anything like super impressive in the ring, especially. Like he comes off like a guy who should be leading his own like mid-card heel stable. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Like he works for me in that role. So I do like him in that spot. And they still announce him as being from Ring of Honor, despite the fact that Ring of Honor just released their entire roster. So there you go.
Well, it takes time to change things in New Japan.
The announcing at one point suddenly died during this match. That was jarring.
Yeah.
It did come back pretty quickly, though. So a light This Is Awesome chant broke out. I don't know if this was awesome, but it was pretty good. But unfortunately ended with Dickinson seemingly hurting himself on the frog splash off the top, which we now know he tore something, right? I don't know what it was.
He basically broke his hip, I think.
Okay.
What it said. It's all hip related.
He's going to be out 6 months, I think.
Yeah.
So that really sucks for him, obviously. And sucks for all of us, because I think Chris Dickinson's great. But yeah, so Bateman just kind of pins him off camera while the other two are fighting on the outside. I had to take it down a little bit for the finish, so I went 3 stars on this. It was fine.
Sucks to see someone like Chris Dickinson go down, yeah. And they were clearly trying to scramble to figure out if he could, I don't know, put together some sort of finish, and then they just had to go for the pin. So, yeah, a shame, because this was actually a really fun tag match leading up to it, and I think there was probably 4 or 5 minutes left and a big finishing sequence. So, yeah, sucks to see it happen. But as soon as he hit the mat, he was very clear that he was hurt. So, I mean, that's got to be a terrible, terrible amount of pain to be in. So, but I think he'll come back. I think what I hope is that he comes back, and the next place that he shows up for New Japan is in Japan, because I think he could play a certain role with the native roster too.
And the opener was Josh Alexander defeating Yuya Uemura in 11:44 at the ankle lock. This was good. This was like, the announcer spent a lot of the early portions of this match talking about Moose apparently cashing in some quote-unquote opportunity to win the Impact World title from Josh Alexander after he beat Christian Cage for the belt. As a non-Impact viewer, I honestly just felt like I was that Stephen A. Smith like clip come to life, where he's like, just look at the camera and goes, "We don't care. Let me just tell you, we don't care." Like, that's how I felt watching this. It's like, I could not give less of a fuck what is happening with Josh Alexander and Impact. And they went on and on about it. Kevin Kelly and
Kozlov.
The guy. Thank you, Alex Kozlov. I was going to say the guy. Kevin Kelly and Alex Kozlov. They went on forever about this fucking Impact World title change. I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't watch Impact. I probably will never watch Impact again for the rest of my life. I don't care what the fuck has been going on with this man Impact. Like, I understand telling me like really briefly, but they went on and on and on. I'm just like, why are we going into such detail on this man's Impact Wrestling happenings? Like, I just could not give less of a shit. So a little bit of feedback there for you, Kevin Kelly, if you happen to listen. Talk less about Impact. Maybe you had to talk about it to get him on the show, but it was it was a little too long. Match itself, very good back and forth match. The crowd seemed into it too, and you could tell this is like a pretty hardcore wrestling crowd when they're popping huge for Yuya Uemura getting this man a cross arm breaker.
Yuya is a special man. Okay,
Yeah.
People really like him.
But I'm just saying, like, there's not that many crowds that pop for arm bars, and this was a crowd
Sure.
that popped for an arm bar. And I do think, like you said, part of that is Yuya too. But Josh eventually gets the ankle lock on him for the win. Fun opener here. I went 3.5, and yeah, Yuya. I mean, they have two wrestlers here who look like they're, special talents here in Yuya and Red Narita. So
Yeah,
whatever they got going here in the LA dojo, it's clearly working well.
yeah. I mean, I like both these guys a lot. I think Josh Alexander has huge upside. He's starting to get some traction. So I'm curious to see where he lands. And Yuya is my guy. I mean, I love to see him wrestle. Love to see him in these spots with interesting singles wrestlers. And who knows what the long-term storyline is there for Yuya. But I think the people that need to know it at New Japan that he's a star, I think they can see it. So yeah, fun opener. Love a good singles opener. So yeah, had a good time.
So there you go, folks. There's your Battle in the Valley. Again, there's some stuff on here that was fine. Some stuff that was great. There's really nothing bad on the show. Just it didn't peak quite as high as I thought it would. So that's maybe my one complaint, but I definitely think it was not as good as Resurgence, and they got to get those fucking production stuff, going. But other than that, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I think it was a good show. I think this is pretty indicative of what you could expect for these kind of tentpole New Japan USA shows.
Yeah. So, any other final thoughts you want to share before you get out of here? Finally, I think it's been like 2.5 hours. So
it's been a minute. Yeah. Good luck editing this podcast together. I guess I'll do plugs. I am the Chris Samsa on Twitter, and you can find my work at sportofprowrestling.com. But yeah, no, love to do the AEW and NJPW combo shows, which seem to be frequent. Whenever
AEW does a pay-per-view, New Japan does a show, so it works out.
Yeah. So, but I wonder if there's something to that. Nothing, not nefarious, but just like, obviously there's a storyline pacing that seems to be similar, maybe.
Yeah.
So.
So there you go. All right, folks. That'll do it, I guess. I want to thank you all for listening. I'm like so used to plugging the Patreon. I'm like getting ready to plug the Patreon. But like, wait a second, I'm not doing that right now. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Omakase, Wrestling When I'm Fit. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Actually, less than 2 weeks, I think. Probably around I think I'm going to try to record the next one around Black Friday. But yeah, I think so for the rest of the year, like I said earlier, probably no year in review stuff. I think I'm going to I have 3 ideas for Retro Roulette episodes, and those are like my favorite episodes to do right now. There's not a lot of big shows coming up between now and the end of the year. So that kind of makes sense, I think, for me. I hope you like those episodes because I love doing them. And this way I have a WWE one, I have a WCW one, and I have a Japanese wrestling one. So, I'm not going to give them all away. You could probably guess them if you think of the time of year and what shows happened. But, we'll get back to that up next with another Retro Roulette episode. So look forward to that when it's back on your podcast feeds. Until then, I want to thank you as always for listening, and I will see you next time.
Some coffee's fast, but not fresh. Some coffee's fresh, but only after a long wait. Speedway Coffee is made fresh at the push of a button, hot or iced, so you can have fresh coffee your way, right away. Get 2 times the points when you buy any size hot or iced coffee drink with Speedy Rewards.
What you want is sometimes far from what you get. At Harry Ritchie's, we want you to get the heart-stopping, high-fiving diamond gift you want and pay for it the way you want. Our in-house financing lets you make payments that fit your budget and your life. Plus, at Harry Ritchie's, our jewelry is priced at an everyday, real price. That means you get all of the dazzle with none of the haggling. More boom for your buck. Now open at Clackamas Promenade. Harry Ritchie's, truly you.